Middle East was never anyone's idea of a golfing destination until the PGA European Tour first came here in 1989. Now Dubai is a regular stop in the spring offensive of some of the world's best players. 1988 saw the creation of the first all-grass golf course here, the Emirates Golf Club, some 20 kilometres along the coast towards Abu Dhabi. Thereafter, there's been a tournament just about every year. The 6 previous playings have thrown up an impressive list of champions. Seve Ballesteros, Ernie Els and America's Fred Couples amongst them. And the depth of this year's field pretty well ensures another quality name being added later today. But before this year's winner is crowned, the usual trials and tribulations have tested the patience of almost everyone. Fred Couples crowned a lackluster day by hitting the roof at the final hole. A favourable bounce eventually leading to an even par 72. Ian Woosnam had chips on his mind, certainly not on his shoulder. The second day running, he holed from this very same bunker for an eagle 3. Colin Montgomerie's progress has been almost serene, but even he's had the odd, testy moment. Raymond Burns featured but didn't fry on his day in the sunshine. A magic wand leading to a magic score, 65 for the Irishman. But overnight leader Miguel Angel Jimenez allowed the rest back in when he frittered away a 4-shot lead. However, a birdie at the final hole gave him a 1-shot cushion going into today's final round. 2 67s and a 68 has been Montgomerie's meagre shot allowance on his return from a 3-month sabbatical. And for the second day running, the 2 pocket dynamos, Woosnam and Burns, are playing together. Both had 65s yesterday. Well, we came here on Tuesday and the heavens delivered the equivalent of a year's annual rainfall in the space of just 12 hours. One wondered if there would be any golf at all in Dubai this week. But from Thursday onwards, the weather's just got better and better. And with the Emirates Golf Club's pure sand subsoil, the course has dried out wonderfully well. There's been uninterrupted golf from start to finish, and with the greens firming up and the organisers selecting what are known as the weekend pin positions, the cream has inevitably risen right to the very top. Well, all the players are now out on the course, and Colin Montgomerie's second to his opening hole in the final group with Jimenez. And starting as he's finished each day, a wonderful approach shot, and you've got to almost give that to him. That was recorded, and now putting for his birdie. Jimenez has opened with a par. He got his 2 shots to within 14 feet, but on this green, and particularly on the first hole, you take things a little carefully. But this week, Montgomerie's been absolutely superb from this sort of range. Uphill. And he's been doing that all week, Ken, hasn't he?
I think his whole game has been very solid. 67, 68 and 67 yesterday, and a birdie at the first to open his account for today. A terrific effort.
And of course, the important thing of that is that he now shares the lead with Jimenez, and he's very much posted notice, certainly to Jimenez and also to the others coming along behind, that, well, notice of his intent this week. Very good start, and you'd think at this moment that perhaps the title is between the top 5 or 6, 7 players, but who knows, on a day like this, anyone can come out of the pack. It's a fairly wide course. The greens are perfect for putting on, and anyone, well, it's still a pretty tightly packed leaderboard, can come up from way down and post a good score.
Yes, we had some good early finishes. 68 from Fabrice Tarnot. He finished at 2 under par in the clubhouse. Mark James round in 70 to finish at 1 under par for the tournament. And Nicholas Fast, he finished in 68 to finish at 6 under par, as you can see there, after 18 holes. So it's an ideal day for scoring. It's a question of finding the fairways from the tees, getting on the green, and then, of course, the putting surfaces here absolutely perfect.
Yes, I agree, Ken. Today, liable to be a bit of a putting competition. We've had 4 perfect days. There's been scarcely a breath of wind. In the second last group out, Ian Woosnam who was in the bunker behind him for 2. It's a very short par 4. It's just 381 yards iron off the tee and a 9 iron or something in. So bad green to miss, but this to save par.
Another player whose putting has been very, very good all week. Who's gaining in confidence. Dropped back at the start of the season to 56 on the world ranking and has moved back up to number 30 after his 2 early season victories.
Important save there, Ken, for him, I think, that because it's a day when people are going to get birdies, and if you start dropping shots, well, it's almost like 2 strokes gone. Raymond Burns also in a little bit of trouble on this second hole. Birdie 3 though at the first. He wasn't far away in 2, but got a little too bold with his approach putt. This is the one back. So starts with a 3 and then fritters it away at the next.
Woosnam and Burns had a marvellous day yesterday playing together. Both went round in 65 with a better ball score of 12 under, Bruce. That's pretty handy.
Yeah, glad you and I weren't playing him in a 4-ball for money. Eduardo Ramirez had a good start to today. Birdied 2 of the first 3 holes, but then given those birdies back. You'll notice the little black ribbons. That, of course, hardly surprising, is in respect for the massacre at Dunblane, which occurred so horrifically earlier this week. You'll see 1 or 2 of those today.
Yes, a very nice gesture. Colin Montgomerie, Jamie Spence and a couple of press men have helped bring that along. Now Couples his third to the 10th, out in 32, making a bit of a charge, 3 under par for his round. But yesterday, round in 72, and really that was his chance of winning, slipping by with all the other players shooting in the 60s.
Yes, you'd say the par, Ken, couldn't be more than about 70, really, in these conditions. And maybe even 69 with 3 of the par 4s reachable, certainly in 2. Joachim Hegman, 2 under for the day. Nicely done.
Like an absolute billiard table, aren't they? The ball's running so purely, it doesn't bobble at all. A little bit quicker this morning. They've dried them out, cut them, double cut them. They're moving up to sort of 11.5 and 12 on the stimp meter, which is very fast, but the greens are generally fairly flat.
He's got it. Couples is making a bit of a move. That takes him to 4 under for the day, 10 under for the tournament. And well, if he can keep that going, maybe he'd have to find another 4, maybe even 5 to post the sort of score that would menace the players who are out later. He's 9 holes effectively ahead of the last grouping out, Montgomerie and Jimenez. But he's doing his stuff, which he wasn't able to do yesterday. 66, 69, 69, the 72 yesterday, and well, he's on his way to what might be a very low score. The defending champion.
Yes, and the Johnny Walker World Champion, won that at the end of last season. So one of the very best in the world, and he'll be looking forward to the Masters. And let's have a quick look at this short par 3. The 11th, a 3-tier green. The pin today cut on the back left tier. The shortest hole on the course, and because the pin is at the back, it's on 37 yards on. It's playing 178 yards today. Always very, very difficult to get close to, and a very large green, sort of a third bigger than an average size at 850 square yards.
And of course the hole sponsored by the Emirates airline, who will donate 100,000 dirhams to anyone who holes in one. That's about $25,000. Bottom left-hand side of your screen, Ignacio Garrido, who had a bad second round, 67 the first day, 75, followed that with 69 yesterday, and 1 under today. Could take in a long putt for a 2, but we'll see. You can see the shadow on the green, which means he's on the wrong level, and he's got to come up and a big swing from right to left.
That was lucky that one stopped, because there's a little tear there that could have easily drifted to the left. The pin's just 2.5 paces above the little ridge.
Jimenez surveying his second shot. He's hit a huge drive down this hole, say 381 yards. He's taken the drive and left himself within 40 paces of the putting surface. The pin today is 21 yards back and over on the left-hand side, so he feels even from this side he's got some room between the front edge of the bunker, our side if you like, and the pin in which to pitch the ball and get it to stop. His opponent for the day, Montgomerie if you like, has posted a 3 to start with, so this looking for his response. Very, very good indeed. He's not going to roll over and die, is he, Ken?
No doubt about that. His game's been very solid. I think if it wasn't for that double bogey on the 13th, he may well have been a little bit further ahead. Let's have a look at this second hole. It's the shortest hole on the course, 351 yards, the same as the 17th. Nearly always an iron from the tee. It's better to favour the left side of the fairway with your tee shot, because that way you don't have to come over this bunker that guards all down the right-hand side. Pin today on the back sort of left portion of the green, so in a relatively easy spot. It's on a little bit of a slope, it's not always easy to putt on, and this was Montgomerie's second.
Yes, coming from the side you suggested, and really a little tentative, perhaps thinking the wind would do some more. Good crowds out today, and that's how this hole has played during the week, under its par of 4, as you might expect. It's been downwind all 4 days. 99 birdies. Nobody's holed their second shot there yet, but even so, 1 or 2 have managed to make a nonsense of it. I think it looked a very well thought out shot by Jimenez there. He worked out if he got to close on the front right hand side, it was a nice little pitch for him.
Yes, I don't think he'd have taken a driver if the pin was tight right and you had plenty of green to work with. A little bit up the hill from right to left, this for the second birdie of the day.
Good lesson there for the club golfers. If anything disturbs you, whatever it may be, walk away and start the routine again. The legs, not quite the line. Good try though. So a 3-4 start from Montgomerie.
Peter Baker's having a bit of a bad run at this hole. This is his 6th shot. Had a penalty drop and lost the golf ball, so that's a real shame for him. He birdied the first and then parred the second, so struggling on what is a relatively easy hole, but there's all sorts of trouble up the right hand side, and we're here now. That's his 7th shot.
Oh, so he's going to drop at least 8, drop at least 3 rather, with an 8. Now Jimenez's response to Montgomerie's opening 3. Very nicely done, not intimidated at all. And that's his 3rd 3 in 4 goes at this hole, so he'll wrap this one up and take it home with him. Well, instantly the 2 players in the final group have moved a stroke ahead of those coming up behind. Peter Baker is going to fall right back down off the first plate of the leaderboard at the very birdieable par 5 3rd hole. Raymond Burns has his level par where he started the day. And Ian Woosnam also at 13 under.
Well, he's been all the way up this hole into a couple of bushes in a bunker. Chips and putts for his 3 over par 5 8, so a real setback for Peter Baker, and you can see it.
Yes, where he started the final day at 9 under, he'd have had a, or rather at 12 under, he'd have really fancied his chances of, if he could have got a good start, and he did get a good start. And of course he eagled this hole yesterday, and it's extracted dire retribution today. He would have, as I say, starting at 12 under, just a couple of shots, 3 shots off the lead, got the start he wanted, and then gave it away. Playing with Tony Johnston of Zimbabwe, who's only dropped 1 shot in the entire tournament so far. And that's his first notch of the day, a 4 there at the par 5, and he goes to 11 under.
He's had a marvellous start to the season, Tony Johnson. Played 3 events and finished in the top 10 3 times. A revitalised man.
Yeah, he's had a couple of years in the doldrums after a very good run at the beginning of the 1990s, both in Europe and back home in South Africa. That was Fred Couples. Playing with Gavin Levinson, who's 35 out and still 6 under where he started the day. Both these players at the back of this 11th green. But it's the place to be. You're almost better off here than you would be bang in the middle of the green with all those little steps to cope with. And the approaches, those who've been watching the first 3 days will know the approaches and the fringe grasses around here are probably as good as most other courses' greens anywhere in the world. There obviously a little bit slower than the greens themselves, but no problem about putting over them. You watch how smoothly this runs. Very, very nicely judged. Beautiful putt. Hard thing there was to get the pace right coming through such a vast amount of fringe grass.
Looked like he got a funny way of marking his golf ball there. Had a smiley face on it. Now Woosnam with his 2nd to the par 5. Yards, and he finds the waste area, and you can see those horrible nasty prickly bushes. Well, he's managed to avoid those, but not the ideal spot.
Couples for yet another birdie, 4 under for the day, remember. Well, he's had to pass that one up. It's not what you would think of as a birdie hole. It's 169 yards in length, pin tucked well away, but that'll be a 3 when the moment comes.
A 3 for Levinson, so he remains at level par for the round and 6 under for the tournament. Now Eduardo Romero.
Little chip from the back of the 8th green. So they started very well, 2 birdies in the first 3 holes, but then gave them back. So level par for the day, where he started at 7 under, very tightly packed. Now here's Raymond Burns playing with Woosnam. 209 yards, 3-iron in his hand, big drive, hole measuring 530 yards, and he's got it up pin high. Awkward little chip.
I'd say double awkward. Absolutely no green to work with below the putting surface, so he'll do extremely well to get that one inside 15 feet. Now Romero. second last week on a good run of form. Nice chip and a putt at the 8 to save his part.
Yes, he'll be disenchanted with things. I mean, given himself the ideal start. This is the 6th green, and the pin today, would you believe, 45 yards back. The green itself measures 51 from front to back. Its widest is no more than half a dozen paces wide. And back there we have Costantino Rocca. Had a very good 66 yesterday. Finally found his putting boots. But over on the right hand side, dog leg from left to right, this 6th hole, and coming in very much from the wrong side. You need to be up as much as you can up the left side in order to be coming in down the great length of this green. There's a view of the graphic. Green at the top, tee at the bottom, and that shows pretty well just what a thin sliver of grass the green is. Interesting bit of design. I'd like to see a few more what I call unusual features in green shapes, perhaps than we tend to get in modern courses today.
Coming out the rough with the pin on the back right, almost impossible to get close to it. It's really just got to float it down the left hand side and hope he gets a kick off the mounds. 140 yards, perhaps a good full 9-iron.
And I think if it had cleared the bunker, we'd have heard the bang as it hit the firm greens. Now, very tricky little shot for Woosnam. This is one of these courses where you've got, it's not bunker, it's waste area. You can ground your club. It's the one big difference of being in a bunker. But just all the same problems. A firm bit of sand underneath and a few sprinklings of dust above.
Looks a little bold. Woo there. He just give it a last minute dig just to make sure he's going to catch the ball before the sand. It's very easy to let it skitter on by.
Burns from the other side. And a bit of hand in that. 15 feet, Ken. Beautiful shot, eh?
Really magical shot. Pitching it a little upslope. Took the sting out of it.
Yeah, that was recorded, or they were recorded. Woosnam now for his four. Caught the edge of the hole, not travelling very fast. 3 pars, and I think when you take a 5 at this hole, you think, well, that was a big opportunity missed. He stays at 13 under, now 3 behind Jimenez. Of course, a lot of people's favourite to make a run at this title today, one of the class horses. Burns has gone birdie, bogey, birdie, so he's 14 under. And, well, he'll be happy to settle for a par or 2 in a minute. That is if he can't make birdies.
Well, it's St. Patrick's Day today, and it would be very apt if Raymond Burns was to become the champion.
Indeed it would. There we go. Jimenez still retains his 1-stroke lead. Montgomerie in pursuit. Burns a further shot back. Woosnam at 13 under. And Robert Willis and Fred Couples, we can see his fine move up the leaderboard, 4 under for the day. Further on down, Mark Mullins having a good day. He's nearly completed his round of golf. He's at 9 under after, with 1 hole of the tournament left to play. 5 under for the day, so he's got a 5 or 4 at the last for a round of 66. Carl Mason too making good move. He's 4 under for the day. Rocca, no real bonus at 1 bogey, 1 birdie.
One of the most difficult shots in golf, the 30-yard bunker shot, but the bunkers here, beautiful sand, nicely compacted. And Rocca, always a good bunker player. And pretty well played. He'll probably give himself 7.5 out of 10 for that one.
Oh, I think you're being a bit cruel there, Ken. I think that was worth a bit more. You said 30 yards, maybe even 35 yards, that bunker shot. got it to stop down. He's left himself one of those putts he's not too keen on, and shown himself to be a little bit vulnerable from 4 to 5 feet earlier in the week. Player who finished second no less than 6 times. As we go back to the third hole.
178 yards, an enormous tee shot from Jimenez. Now he shouldn't attack the flag here. The middle of the green is the perfect spot.
Well, that's a drive of over 360 yards, which is phenomenal, wind behind or not. And he's done what you said. He pitched it by the pin, but 2 putts from there for a birdie. Montgomerie was behind. Might see that in a moment. This is the third hole, 530 yards. Real birdie opportunities today with the breeze behind, Ken.
Yes, and whenever you're in range of the par 5, so important to find the fairway. The bunker down the left-hand side is where Peter Baker started his problems. You can't carry that, and you drive into this sort of area, and often you're standing with your feet above the ball. And the key to the second shot is you can't be too greedy. The pin today cut on that front left-hand portion, guarded by those 2 big bunkers. And if you try and attack it, as Jimenez did, you get the hard bounce and it shoots forward, and you give yourself all sorts of problems. Otherwise, you've got to play for the centre of the green. Moments ago, this was Montgomerie's second shot.
Another big drive. He can get there with an iron, or so he thinks. Running a little bit right, and well, just in the approaches. That's not too over. Pin, as we said, only 10 yards on this green, so that's quite close. He might even be closer than Jimenez. We'll find out in a moment. Back to the 6th.
This is a nasty, slippery one, just on the left head or just outside. Certainly didn't swing as much as Costantino thought. Well, he really needed to come out of the traps fast today if he was going to give himself a chance to win the tournament. Well, he birdied the second, but dropped strokes at 4 and 6. So Mr. Rocker has got to make a flurry of birdies if he's going to make any sort of a challenge.
Yes, and dropping a couple of shots both for him and Romero, it really knocks the wind out of your sails. And the wind perhaps now as strong as any time. Thursday evening it got quite blustery, but making the flag stand out on the pins. We'll see whose shot it is. Even though he may be closer, Montgomerie might play first, because of course he can leave the pin in. We shall see, but 2 good, very good birdie opportunities. And were they both to walk off this green with 4s, you'd feel that they'd put a little bit of daylight between themselves and the rest.
This has been a very tidy hole for Montgomerie. Eagle the first day, his only eagle of the week, and he's birdied the last 2. And he's been working with his coach Bill Ferguson, and he's been recommending him to think positively and think about holding these type of shots.
That really was a beautiful shot. You saw how he had to get it to the top of the ridge, and then it was downhill the other side. It actually gathered speed about halfway to the hole. That was a really beautiful stroke. It was an A level. This hole, as you can see, the 18th rank, so it's the easiest hole on the course all week. 4.6 against a par of 5, so 0.4 beneath his par. Massive birdies. Nearly probably three quarters as many birdies as there have been pars. But even so, a few horrors there, bogeys, and of course 4 double bogeys and others, and one of those Peter Baker's. And the one thing on these greens, they have been, and we've been saying so, they've been really very good and all very even paced. But very difficult the long putt, Ken, seemingly, because there's big humps and, well, not humps, not just sort of big gentle undulations.
It's always difficult to read. The hole cut in a little bit of a hollow. Yes, congratulations must go to everybody here, the green staff, Brent Holmes, and it's been very well organised, and Bob Wilkinson, who helps to run the tournament. They've done a beautiful job.
Well, the great thing about it is he got the strength right, which was the difficult bit. I think that's stone dead in the low camera position. Can't see, maybe a little bit longer than it looks, but I think that's no more than 9 or 10 inches. And choosing as he can to go on, but we'll go ahead to the fourth, a short hole.
Losing him with the putter. Beautiful touch, a dangerous little par 3 this one. 183 yards down the hill, but the pin cut on that right hand side, very close to the water.
Robert Willis at the 6, the Australian who very much likes Dubai. Won here 6 months ago. And had the distinction of playing with Colin Montgomerie yesterday. And thoroughly enjoyed the experience, round in 70.
The tee shot of Rocker at 7. I don't think he enjoyed that one much.
Very expressive golfer, I find, Rocker, when he's going, and well, things going slightly awry, the arms flail. Montgomerie taps in for his birdie, but he's made no ground on Jimenez. He's gone to 16 under. Earlier in the week, he decided that 18 under would do. He's well on his way to that. 2 birdies in the first 3 holes, but it might not be good enough. We shall see.
2 tiddlers that have got away from Raymond Burns, one on the second and now one here at the 4th. Took to this long putter in the winter.
Yeah, you've got to admire Peter Baker. He came off that horrific 8 and got a 2 at this hole, which, as you said, has been tripping up a lot of the players. So there's the state of play, and suddenly, with Raymond Burns dropping a shot there, there's 3 strokes between Montgomerie in 2nd place and Burns in 3rd place. Jimenez has matched everything that Montgomerie's thrown at him, so there's a 3-shot and 4-shot gap between the top 2. Robert Willis at 12 under par is 2 under for the day after 5.
Mark Mullins finished with a superb round of 66 to finish at 10 under par, and news of Severiano Ballesteros. Well, he was rounding at 77 today, closed out with a double bogey, 7 at the 18th to finish the tournament at +4. So a disappointing week for him, but he did make the cut, so he's got a bit of golf in.
Yes, but he would have been looking forward to the weekend, and it's really produced nothing from 74, 77, and he'd have felt he thought the shackles would have been off having qualified. But lots of good golf going on here. We've seen Eduardo Romero going up the leaderboard and back down, a bit of snakes and ladders there. So 2 birdies so far today for Willis. Birdies at 3 and 5. Chance of another one here. Straight in the middle, 13 under for Master Willis. He must be with water or something in Dubai Creek. So he's moved into a share of 3rd place.
We We've seen a lot of players taking putters from off the greens, and Rocker is another. Just a little bit steamy coming down the hill. Mr. Spence, Jamie Spence, 2 over par for his round. Well hole, he was very happy on the practice ground, a supporter of the Arsenal Football Club. Well, they won 3-0 yesterday against Wimbledon, so that always makes his day.
A man of many interests, Mr. Brown. But not a good start for Jamie Spence. Now let's have a look at this 4th hole, 188 yards downhill. Pin's not in that position today, Ken.
No, it's very much tight in that back right-hand corner, and you can see what a tigerist spot it is. And the whole green slopes very much from left to right, so if you do bail out on the left-hand side, it means you're putting down the hill back towards the water. It really is a treacherous little short hole. The wind's coming off the right and behind the players.
Jimenez, of course, with the honour. Those had the best score before. And right on line, and you can see the ball trying to edge down that slope. There's a look at the graphic. Tee set up on quite a breezy part of the course. And the 4th hardest hole. And of course, Eagles 1 means this was one of the 3 holes that would hold in 1 during the week.
Jose Caceres managed that. We had 3, of course, and Roger Vessel's got 1 at the 7th and won 100,000 dirhams. Not bad work if you can get it.
Across the way, the other short hole on the front 9, Jay Townsend for a 3. Playing with Rocker, gets that one. A couple of 3 putts close home last night was his undoing, really. From no great range. And he was sort of there or thereabouts, but those just slightly undermined his finish. Plus he took 5 at the last when he played around with the trees and the water.
As with Fred Couples, if Costantina has a little bit of a weakness of just this range of putts. Saves his par. There he is, 8 under par for the tournament, but 1 over par for today's round. He's looking fit, isn't he?
Oh yes, he's very. It's been a great week, because when you've had that length of time off, you really don't know. You wonder, you know. And he's deliberately left the clubs in the cloakroom cupboard. He's never been a great practicer or a great hitter of practice balls, and he's really given the game away, because he said he's had 6 or 7 very intense years when he's been pursuing Ryder Cup honours, tournament victories, Order of Merit points, which of course he's all won. And although he's going to play 20 tournaments in Europe this year, you sense that, well, if the Volvo ranking title is not to be his, he won't be deeply upset.
No, he's done everything in golf except win one of those major titles, and that's obviously his main aim. But he would obviously like to equal Peter Oosterhuis's record of 4 Volvo ranking, topping the tables. Well, his waist has been reduced from 40 to 36, and his chest by nearly as much.
Yes, he's probably had another new wardrobe of clothes, or got back into clothes that he hadn't been getting into for a year or 2. But he certainly feels very good about himself. He says he was sort of slightly embarrassed when he saw pictures of himself and bulky midriff and what have you. And he says you don't necessarily play your best golf if you don't feel 100% about yourself. Well, he's got one of these awkward putts of yours, Ken.
But his faithful caddy of 6 years, Alistair McLean. I saw him in the bar last night, but he was only drinking Perrier water.
That's all the pair of them are drinking in that case, because Monty's off the hard stuff. Not that he was ever on it. like a lager and a glass of wine at times. Well, he's first to go, and of course Jimenez standing by will notice above all the pace of this putt. And he's left himself well short. He's held those well, but you don't want to keep leaving yourself those. And if he's had any sort of one consistent problem this week, it has been judging the pace of these greens. And 2 of his 3 drop shots of the week have been the result of 3 putts.
Singing with plenty of confidence, Robert Willis right down the flag.
This is a wonderful start to his final round. He's the bolter out of the pack behind him and Fred Couples. Couples, meanwhile, has gone on with a pair of pars after getting to 10 under. Back to the 5th. Woosnam second. Water in front of this green, but shouldn't affect these players.
I was just about to say you don't want to miss this green on the right, and there it is. You can see why the pin cut tight to the right, and it's all downhill from there. So Woosnam struggling for a par.
As I say, Jimenez will have been able to go to school on Montgomerie's putt. There's so many different factors: the breeze, the slopes. And it takes a hole or two to decide just how quick the greens are. And they've been getting faster, as Ken was saying, all day, all week. See, perfect judgment of distance. No stress in recording his 3. Nice start. 2 under and 17 under for the tournament. And I must admit, Ken, I've admired the way he came back. It would have been very easy to be totally upset when he took 7 at the par 5 yesterday.
Yes, it was a little bit of a calamity of errors all the way down the hole, popping it in the water and then ending up chipping it into the bunker. Finished with a 7 there, but a little up and down he got at the very next hole when he hit it over the back of the green with a fly with a 9-iron. Got down in 2 from there. That settled him. A lovely little chip and got a 4 at the 14th. And parred the rest of the holes and birdied the 18th. So it was a very good effort. It would have been easy to end up shooting a 74.
Well, indeed, and enabled him to take a lead in, albeit that 7 was the time when the air went out of the cushion that he'd built between himself and the rest. And now he's got to work hard. Important putt from Montgomerie, this one. They're all important on check gathering day. Every time, it's not just a question of holding them, they've been right bang in the middle. It's one of the best putting, short putting rounds I've seen from anybody anywhere.
It's been an amazing tournament from Montgomerie and for Jimenez. Now, it'll take a magic touch to get this one close. We've seen it from Burns. Can Woosnam do it?
Nearly as good as he could have done. You have to hit it quite hard to get it to moving forwards at all. But as you say, that was a criminal mistake, almost to the amateur side of the green, you might feel. Now, Robbie Willis. This would give him his 4th birdie of the day. It would lift him into 3rd place on his own. And the hole, one would think, is looking as big as a bucket.
Just a fraction lacking in pace. That would have been his 3rd birdie in a row.
Burns from what would then be the professional side of this 5th green. Back left-hand corner. Down the slope. Look at that trundle on and on. At one point he thought it was going to finish about 4 or 5 inches away, and still got 4 feet coming back. Woosnam, well, I think if he was going to really run at this title, I would expect him to make a birdie or 2. Of course, always very difficult, Ken. He had a 65, as did Burns yesterday, to do it again, isn't it?
Extremely difficult to keep hitting low numbers all the time, and a very important putt for Woosnam to maintain his momentum. 4 pars so far.
Well, that's not the sort of start that victories are made of. And he's now 5 shots adrift of Jimenez. Probably a little bit surprised, because whenever he's turned up and got into contention this year, he's won.
Yes, he's an amazingly good run of form. Now Burns enjoys this course, finished 8th here last time, his first tournament on the European Tour. 4 rounds in the 60s.
Well, he's still looking for his first par of the day. And he needs to hold this for that. So it's a full house, 2 birdies, 3 bogeys. And again, like Woosnam, not sort of steady and inspired start that victories come from.
This is his 8th round on this course, and his high score so far has been 70. That's Raymond Burns. Can Baker get another one back after disastrous 8 at the 3rd?
He can indeed. So his putting's still working well. Remember, he had a 1 putt as well for that 8, and that's got him back to level par for the day. So he can sort of feel, well, I can start again now. That's not too bad. That's very good. He's 2 under for the last 3 holes, and real professional that, to put the disaster behind him.
Excellent stuff. Full of confidence though, Baker, at the moment on the green. He's been putting beautifully all the week, as a number of players have. You can see by the scoring multitudes of birdies. It's Robbie Willis who's making the real charge. He's currently 3 under par for the round and 13 under par for the tournament. Ian Woosnam just dropped a stroke there at the 5th to drop back to 12 under. Carl Mason coming through the field as well. Fred Couples, he's still 4 under after 12 holes, and of course 10 under par for the tournament.
Tony Johnson, he's open with all pars to date. You know, it's quite a short backswing and trying to do it with the follow through, which doesn't often work. And he had a very good round yesterday, Johnston. 69, 71, 66, 69. And as you were saying, Ken, you know, suddenly finishing in the top 10 in the last 3 tournaments he's played. And it's that, you know, probably almost you couldn't tell what's changed in his game.
A very slick putt down the 8th green for Townsend. Seemed to get a little bit frightened of that one.
Back to the 5th, and the final group, 2 big tee shots. This hole measuring 436 yards. The breeze helping him from right to left, and 150 to the front. The pin today on just 13, 163 to go.
Wind coming in off the right. Just flown it past the flame. That is a very quick putt down the green, down the hill. Let's have a look at this 5th hole, 436 yards. The wind today off the right-hand side. A very generous wide fairway. There's a bunker up on the right-hand side. You've got to hit a very crooked one to find that. The waste bunker all the way down the left. 310 yards to reach the water. So sometimes down breeze. A 3-wood to this green that slopes very much from back to front. A reasonably generous target, but ideally you want to leave the ball below the flag to leave yourself an uphill putt. Montgomerie's just drifted that 6 or 7 yards too far.
Yes, the pin today very close to where it was when our helicopters flew over it. And again, having gone first, will give a little bit of a help to Jimenez. Now, Montgomerie's not the shortest of players, he's sneaky long, I think was the word Ken Brown used. Yeah, Jimenez just keeps knocking it past him. And provided your opponent for the day, and when it comes to the last day, they are opponents, they knock it stone dead all the time, and it becomes very difficult to follow in. Montgomerie not quite getting the judgment of distance right yet. The fresh breeze. You often wonder how much his playing companion, his opponent's shot will have had effect on his own stroke, but he's done what you said, Ken. He's left it underneath the hole.
Gives you a chance to be brave now. Rocker, that's another slippery one, right to left.
So.
Yes, things haven't gone right. We've watched him play the last 3 holes, and it's all been a bit irritating for him. We'll go back to the 6th. Burns' second shot. Pin today, remember, 45 yards down this green. He's coming in from the correct side, and he's judged the distance very nicely indeed. Knocks that in. He's still looking for his first par of the day.
Baker at the 7th. 56 and the pin on 17, 173 yards today. Well, the way Baker's putting, wouldn't be surprised if you popped that one in as well.
Could be. $129 to the front of this 6th green, 45 on top of that, 174, and equally good. And it was very interesting here, you see how these two dragged one another along in the slipstream. They both went round in 65, and it was all the little confident strut in the step. Today it hasn't quite been the same, and again maybe sort of reacting to how each other is playing.
Certainly nothing happened for these players as far as moving up the leaderboard, but this fellow has had no such problems. Robbie Willis. Now, did he get a clean contact on that one? He certainly did. He's chased that on. Just managed to wriggle it past the bunker that guards the right-hand corner of the green. This Robbie Willis may be a dark horse, Bruce.
Well, as I say, I saw him when he's thrilled with that shot, and quite rightly so. Got it up on the green, hard hole the 8th, back to the 5th. Montgomerie to putt first, and this is another putt, not dissimilar to the one he had at the previous hole, perhaps some 20 feet in length and downhill. We said there's no big borrows on these greens, but it's very much a case of getting the pace right. And that's a much better putt than the one he had at the last, but still, well, 3.5, 4 feet. But at least this one's uphill.
tropical scene there, the palm trees. The temperature's absolutely perfect. 4 golf today. Quite as warm, I think, as yesterday, just about around about the 80 degrees Fahrenheit. A nice breeze just to keep you cool.
I think very important putt this for Woosnam, Ken. I think if he's going to do anything today, he's got to start collecting a birdie or two. He hasn't had any yet, just one drop shot. And an inspirational player, mood player, and if he can get something going, well, birdies can begin to flow. But this, if he misses this, well, it's almost like another nail in the coffin. And of course, the way he started the year, the only thing that really interests him are victories. The only thing that get him really excited. Saw that, always left from the moment he hit it.
Rocker had the same problem, same putt. He did exactly the same thing. Obviously looks like it moves a little bit more from left to right than it actually does.
Didn't you think there that actually the putter blade wasn't pointing at where the putt actually ran? I think he hiked it round, to me.
Just as you read it, second guess always ends in a miss.
Robbie Willis for yet another birdie at 8. And again, you're beginning to see the increased pace of these greens, with the sun and the wind on them. That was gathering pace down the slope. Bit of work to do to save par.
Ken Baker make a 2. Pretty fast. Quite, he putted so marvellously well back in 1993. Was a Ryder Cup player that year. Won 2 tournaments, the Scandinavian Masters and the Dunlop Masters. I think it was the Dunhill Masters. They keep changing the names of them.
Jimenez at the 5th. This for a 2-shot lead. If he'd hit it, that was there, bang in line, but he's perhaps looked the more competent of the two. He hasn't left himself any of these nasty 4-footers that Montgomerie keeps having to tap in. Well, it really has been an idyllic 4 days. The chill of the earlier in the week has kept the air fresh. It's got hotter each day. As Ken was saying, it's pretty warm today, and well, he's got the right idea, a bit of sun cream and stay in the shade. Well, the leaders have now been out on the course for just over an hour. They're on their 5th hole. Colin Montgomerie and Miguel Angel Jimenez, and as you can see, the two of them have put a little bit of daylight between those chasing, and one of the man who's really in greatest pursuit is Robert Willis, who's had 4 birdies in his first 6 holes and got to 13 under. Raymond Burns and Ian Woosnam, who once again are playing together, have dropped a shot each. Burns has yet to have his first par. He's had a couple of birdies but 3 bogeys. Woosnam just 1 bogey and the rest pars. And Thomas Bjorn, a new name, has crept onto the leaderboard at 11 under par from Denmark, the winner of the Challenge Tour last year.
Woosnam has only dropped a few shots this week, and 2 of them were at this 7th hole on day 1 where he double bogeyed. He's found the safety of the putting surface. In the last 3 weeks on the Volvo European Tour, we've had wire-to-wire winners. Wayne Westner, Paul Lawrie and Peter Heblom last week. Is it going to be Miguel Angel Jimenez this week?
Could well be. This is Robbie Willis from Australia. Yeah, that was not a good putt. He hiked that, he knows it. He's just 3-putted the 8th. First drop shot of the day, goes back to 12 under, so there's now 4 shots between those in 3rd place and the leaders. 5 from the outright leader, Jimenez. Peter Baker's had an extraordinary day, really. He started with a birdie, then took a triple bogey 8 at the 3rd hole, a par 5, which all the players can get up in 2. But he's fought back very well. He had birdies at the immediately following that at the short fourth, and another one at the 6th. This is Raymond Burns.
Not convinced in his mind he's got the right club. He's playing 173 yards into the breeze today, the 7th.
Yes, perhaps used almost a couple of clubs more. They usually reckon about 10 yards between clubs. Burns, I say, who's just had his first par of the day, having hit a second shot really quite close at the 6th.
From Northern Ireland, of course, St Patrick's Day. So all the people back there will be hoping that this man can make in a bit of a charge and produce a victory. 8th here last year. His best finish on the European Tour is 7th in the BMW Championship.
This 6th hole, where the leaders have got to. A dogleg from left to right, and the ideal line is to avoid that bunker over on the right altogether. Keep your tee shot up on the left-hand side to give yourself the best look in down a green, which is a fascinating one. Very narrow from right to left, but 51 yards from front to back. The pin today is cut 45 of those 51 yards up the back and over on the right-hand side, so a real Sunday position there. The one eagle here the other day was David Guilford on the opening day, hold his second shot, but playing just marginally over its par of 4.
As our camera wanders down the fairway, not much difference between the 2 drives. Montgomerie's slightly in the right side of the hole.
Yeah, it's been an interesting battle and beginning to become a 2-horse race. Of course, long way to go as yet, and others could leap out of the pack. But as I say, 4 shots between Montgomerie and the man in 3rd place. And of the 2 tee to green, one has to say that Jimenez has so far played the better. He's been getting his figures very good. He'd had a birdie at the 2nd and a birdie at the 3rd. Montgomerie opened with a 3 to pose the question and momentarily catch Jimenez, but thereafter they've matched scores, and the gap between them is the same as it was at the beginning. But Montgomerie's had from no great distance had left his putts quite a long way short. He's had a couple of awkward 5-footers to hold, and he's really coming in here, Ken, from the wrong side.
Certainly coming out the rough, up the hill and down the breeze. He'll have to get this one coming in from a very high trajectory if the ball's going to stop.
And stop it did. That's a marvellous golf shot, and probably stopped a lot quicker than he thought it. Quite a safe stroke he played there, away from the sand, kept it no question of having to get up and down. There is the state of play, and you can see 5 shots between Jimenez and Robert Willis now, along with Peter Baker, Raymond Burns and Ian Woosnam at 12 under. And that's quite a lot with just a little over 2/3 of the course still to play. Montgomerie is sticking with him, which is what he's got to do, and hope that the birdies will come, and they have done the first 3 days. But he's not very close for birdies so far, Montgomerie, and an opportunity here for Jimenez. Lovely drive, perfect position.
Releasing down the green and just inside Montgomerie, so Jimenez will have the chance of seeing how Montgomerie's ball breaks.
Carl Mason is having a good day. 6 under through 17 hole. This is second shot to the final hole, and making no mistake, clears order. He'll get a drop away if he's got a restricted swing. Look where the pin is today, way over, almost in the little neck that joins the 18th and the 9th. Now there's the story, and rather a sad one it is, of Seve Ballesteros. Just the one birdie, but lots of figures in the black, and finishing the day and his tournament off with a double bogey 7 at the last, 77. He would have looked forward to the weekend, having made the cut pretty well on Friday night and looked at the opportunity of playing without worrying about qualifying, but it really hasn't worked for him, and he's still deep in the doldrums, it must be said.
To the other end of the scale, Ian Woosnam, he's definitely not deep in the doldrums. That would have brightened up a day that hasn't been totally satisfactory for him.
Well, you'll notice some of the players, particularly the British ones, are wearing a little black patch on their arms and on their clothing today. Well, hardly anyone around the world can have missed the horrific news of the 16 little children mown down at Dunblane in Scotland earlier this week. 9:30 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time today. The people of Britain observed their minute silence, and these patches are the players' way of paying their own tributes. A sad moment in the history of mankind.
Yes, Colin Montgomerie was one of the instigators of the idea with Jamie Spence and a couple of press people.
Indeed. Raymond Burns from the front of the 7th green. Well, a full house, I was saying, of birdies on bogeys for Raymond Burns. We won over today, but just parred the last 2 holes. Montgomerie now for long outside chance for 3, and I think to start with, he's just trying to get the ball close.
When you're holding out as well as he is, there's no excuse for leaving them short, that's for certain. He's really missed absolutely nothing inside 6 feet all week, and nor has his playing partner that we've seen for certain. And he would have had a little chance to have a look at the break of Colin Montgomerie's ball.
Philip Price has reached the 11th. He's 4 under par, and short hole. It's on line. It's on line. Ooh, and that all but pitched in. We've had 100,000 dirhams won by Roger Vessels on the 2nd day, and nearly the Emirates prize there being awarded to Philip Price. See if anyone comes closer.
Now, has he learnt anything, Jimenez, to extend his lead? Whenever he's missed this week, they've come so close. A beautiful putt.
Carl Mason, remember, in the hospitality units at the 18th in 2, chipped to there, so he hasn't picked up the birdie that he might have done. But he's really been a marvellous last round. This is the first year he's started with a long wand, and a final round of 68 to go with previous scores of 66 rather, to go with previous scores of 68, 73 and 70, and 11 under for the tournament. Nice way to finish.
Right into the centre of the hole, as per usual. Jimenez, who finished runner-up in the Saracen World Open at the end of last season, won £100,000, but went into the last day with a 2-stroke lead. That was over Stadler and Zola and Daly, so hasn't always been known to hold on the final day.
No, it's a couple of years since he won on this tour. And he's got Colin Montgomerie breathing down his neck, but it's just about only Colin Montgomerie. And as the holes go by and they begin to run out, well, more and more it will become the old match play situation. None the worse for that. Robert Willis has just slid one back and come back to the group at 12 under. Raymond Burns and Ian Woosnam steadying their ship, maybe to make a launch on the second 9. Thomas Bjorn, a very good round, the man who won 4 times on the Challenge Tour in 1995. Looking a little bit further on down the list, Fred Couples had a marvellous start, 4 under par for the day through 10 holes, hasn't found any more as yet. But the man, of course, defending his title and making a good run after a really, it must be said, an indifferent day yesterday.
Paul Lawrie's just finished his round, the winner a couple of weeks ago. Finished the tournament 7 under, rounding at a 70 today. Ignacio Garrido opened up with a 67, threw in a 75, but finished the tournament at 5 under par. Sorry, 7 under par with 3 to play. It was fast, rounding 68. Close out at 282 with 6 under.
David Fairty had a couple of good rounds on Thursday and Friday, 70, 69 to be 5 under, but has had a pair of 72s since then, which will be a little disappointing. Man who's enjoying his comeback to European golf, flirted with commentary in the United States, flirted with play on the United States tour, but his home, I think, will be predominantly the European tour, with the odd little flirt with television commentary in the United States.
Treacherous little short hole, the 7th over the water, the pin in a very generous position today on that back right hand portion, so the water didn't ought to come into play unless you completely miss club and miss hit.
Jimenez with the honour, and quite often at short holes it's better to go second. Nicely in the middle of the green. He's played sterling stuff from tee to green, and in fact he's, must be said, been the more precise of the two today.
Got that tournament off to such a flying start with an opening 63, and he's been out in front ever since. Never easy to do that. Really, there's only one man at present chomping at his heels, and that's this man, the big, not so burly Scot, Colin Montgomerie.
Every swing seemingly the same. That's right at the pin. Putt for a 3, putt for a 2 now. That's almost the first time today, with the exception of the opening hole, he's been inside Jimenez with a shot to the green.
After a perfect tee shot at the 8th, 159 yards. Pin on that right hand portion. Made a lovely sound. And it don't come any better than that.
Now Robert Willis, who dropped a shot by 3 putting at 8, has this to repair the damage at 9. No. And he missed a very makeable birdie chance at the 7th, and once again one feels perhaps he's got as close to the leaders as he can at this stage in his career. He's in his early to mid-30s, but only been a professional a year or 2.
A man in his early 20s, 22, Raymond Burns.
His swing does remind me of Peter Baker's a bit in the style. Of course, he's got the same peak hat on, which was part of the reason I made the mistake a little early on. Quite crisp follow through. Perhaps on his day not quite as good a putter. Now here's Rocco, who's had his trials and tribulations today. This at the 10th hole, his 3rd shot, and after an early birdie, sorts of things have gone wrong. 3 bogeys followed in the space of 5 holes, and he's just taken 6 at the par 4 9th to be out in 39.4 over par for the day. So it's a black day for the Italian, very likable Costantino Rocca.
Raymond Burns, who turned to this long putter during the winter months, has spent a bit of time at Palm Springs. He had a month there, played a little mini tour event, gained in a bit of confidence using it. He won that little tournament. And his putting has been extremely good all week. Just missed one or two short ones.
Not enough strength then. Yes, I've been interested in the number of golfers who really got nothing wrong. They haven't developed the twitch or anything with putting the traditional way, but are beginning to see or believe that it's actually a better way to putt.
Townsend at the 10th. 64 on his birthday. Has he got it? Ooh. Day one, he was round in 64. What a nice way to celebrate your birthday that was.
Well, I wasn't quite able to reproduce. A couple of 71s to follow. And really the last 3 or 4 holes yesterday saw him slip away out of contention. Woosnam now, well, we keep saying he's got to knock one of these in. And Phil Morby, I apologise for calling him Mobley. He's called Wobbly, that's his nickname because of the old slightly knock-kneed walk, but Phil Morby, apologies to anybody, any members of the family who might have offended over the years. Woosnam for a 3. That's always right, methinks. I want to say yesterday these two could hardly put a foot wrong, and today nothing much going right.
Again, left himself the uphill putt. This for a 2 at the 7th.
Well, that's the first clumsy one we've seen from Jimenez, and clumsier than anything Montgomerie's done. That's a good 6-7 feet by, and of course the further you go away the harder it becomes.
Yeah, that front line was a real shocker from Rocca. 39. Things getting no better. That was for his birdie at the 10th.
Well, there's the chance now of a 2-hole 2-shot swing. Yeah, Montgomerie, of course, who's been out here longer than most, not having played any competitive golf. He came out here last Saturday with his coach Bill Ferguson and caddy Alistair McLean, and so got in certainly more rounds before all the really heavy rains came, and so spent a long time here and practiced extensively.
Not an easy putt to read, a little bit down the hill. One practice stroke, just inside right.
There she goes. The 2 for Montgomerie. That's broken the log jam, the traffic jam. 3rd birdie of the day, and it's been a very impressive performance. And once again, he shares the lead with Jimenez. And with him knocking that in, well, we'll first of all go to Thomas Bjorn, our first view of him this week. He's dropped a shot since the turn. But that's for a 2, and that gets him back to 11 under.
He was the man who led the Challenge Tour, Thomas Bjorn, so he's making a bit of a charge.
Well, at the moment, there's the confirmation. Of course, Jimenez still has to putt for his par at the 7th hole. But whether he holds it or not, it's a 5-stroke lead between those 2 players in the final group and the rest of the field. Here's one of those on 12 under.
Woosnam has been using a new couple of woods this week with slightly softer shafts. They seem to be working really well.
Big day this for young Raymond Burns. He's been in good positions before after 3 rounds and tended to fritter them away. So if he can finish around par or better today, or preferably under 70, then it will be another notch in the belt of experience. And they're beginning to put a little bit of space in geographic terms between themselves and the last group. Remember, Montgomerie is still on the 7th green, and they're the next group up and well off the 9th tee.
Burns, of course, a Walker Cup player at the tender age of 19 at Interlaken. So a very, very promising young player.
Yes, there was a sad day for Britain. Then they got absolutely hammered. Now this is big putt for Jimenez, not made any easier at all by Montgomerie knocking his in for a 2. So positions are reversed. Montgomerie assumes the lead. First mistake either of them have made, but psychologically I think a crucial blow.
It could prove a very important little putt there. As you say, the momentum definitely swung towards this man, Colin Montgomerie.
Well, we've said it before, the new slimline Montgomerie, but it hasn't made any effect to the way he swings the club, the rhythm of his swing, the direction of it. And I know, is absolutely thrilled how well he's played this week, exceeded his expectations.
After a long layoff, he's come back firing on all 8 cylinders. Here's the dog leg, the 8th, the par 4. Very difficult tee shot, trouble all the way down the right. You just cannot afford to get tangled up with that. Second shot plays very much up the hill. Deceptive, can't see the bottom of the flag, always difficult to pick the club to a green that slopes quite steeply from back to front, guarded on the left by a lot of bunkers, and a very important tee shot to find the fairway.
Now the question marks are out on Jimenez. He's got to keep going, put that only a very slight blemish behind him, but he's hit it up the right hand side, tried to cut off a bit too much, wasn't trying to, but that's been the result of it. And Montgomerie asking all the questions. Back to ahead to the 9th.
Ian Harold Woosnam, his honour with his second shot, the shorter of the 2 drives, of course OVE, in recognition of him winning the Masters back in '91.
What a day that was. Not a dry eye in the house. There's a very good picture of the shot he's got left. 172 to the front. He's pushed it way out to the right. The pin's 22 on today. And, well, maybe just the last minute he was coming into the ball. Mustn't put it in the water. So easy to do, isn't it, Ken?
Particularly with the ball above your feet, and Woosnam's shot is the draw. We saw Colin Montgomerie take a bath on this one yesterday, so just got a little bit frightened at impact.
Yes, the whole of this fairway slopes from a big bunker up on the right-hand side at the driving distance, and even this is a little above Burns' feet. Anything goes wrong with Raymond Burns, he tends to get a little bit quick as the excitement mounts, but that's pretty good. It's pin high, where he was coming from anyway. But the good thing now, as I say, 2 birdies in the first 3 holes, but 3 drop shots in between, has put him 1 over for the day and 12 under.
Mr. Jamie Spence, his third shot to the 10th. That was delightfully played. Spence, of course, got a new set of irons at the start of the season, got one of the black ribbons on.
Yes, he was one of the prime movers in this event, showing its sympathy. But he's having a poor day. Now, this was Robbie Willis a little while before. Par 5, the 10th hole, but reachable just about into, but it's a green that's really designed to have a little wedge hit into it, not a big iron, and things coming slightly undone for the likeable Australian. 2 putts for a par, but it's a hole that if you don't birdie, you feel, well, I've let things slip a little bit.
Looking at the highest point on the golf course, the green at the 8th, always a bit more exposed. The wind comes whistling, of course, across there, and it tends to dry it out. It's one of the harder, firmer greens on the golf course. Sitting reasonably well.
Yes, I think the difficult thing here, Ken, is his feet are going to be, he's sort of as though he's got a ridge in between his ball. His toes will be up in the air, and he's, as you can see, a good 3 or 4 inches below the ball, and the ball's on a level surface.
It'll be very easy to catch it heavy, just what he doesn't want to do.
Tell you what, I think that's a wonderful shot from where he was. He made the extremely awkward look really quite simple. Glorious shot. That'll help a lot. Figure there behind the stomach and lower half of Michael Williams of the Daily Telegraph, also working for the Gulf News this week, I notice.
A real entrepreneur, but a great writer, Michael Williams, to a great golfer, Colin Montgomerie. A very big drive, perfect position to attack the flag from.
Third shot of Woosnam at the 9th. Nicely played, quite nicely played, but really, and we've seen a lot of shots over the 4 days from that side chipping into this green, and none of them have been able to get the ball close at all. You're coming off a downslope to a green that slopes away from you and from right to left, and player after player has been able to stop the ball close to the pin.
Just getting a little bit down on himself, Willis. Dropped the stroke at the 8th, missed a short putt there. Now he signals a wide.
Yes, I mean, the one thing now, he was up there when he got to 12 under. He was up there with a chance to sort of perhaps win the tournament. That's now gone, one has to think. And he's got to remember there's lots of very handsome prize money on offer this week, and he doesn't want to sort of throw shots away. Let's get his round back under control. He's still a couple under for the day.
Down the hill for Amy Burns. Burns the hole, but doesn't find the bottom of the cup. This 9th hole, the hardest hole on the golf course, so 4 here always a decent result.
Yes, it would be no disgrace as the 18th, and of course for modern courses most of them have 2 loops of 9 that come back to the clubhouse. Good crowds have come out this day, on this final day, to watch, and why not? So nothing more pleasant than stroll in the sunshine and watch some of the world's best. Difficult putt, this big break from his left, our right as we look at it. Probably got to borrow a couple of feet. He should have done. Up and out of that very quickly. It's not been a good day. 36 to the turn if he pops this in. And in fact, wrong, it's a 37. Of course, that's a drop shot, so out 2 over par and back to 11 under. 35-37 the two halves here. 1 par 5 on the front 9 and 3 on the back.
Ken Montgomerie get another birdie, come up a bit shy. Currently lying 4th on the world rankings and moving up gradually. An amazing level of consistency last year, 14 top 10s in 20 starts.
Good putt for Burns, and he's out in 36, 1 over for the day.
Ken Willis make a hole in 1. Right down the flag, chasing up the little tee.
Well, it was some birdie after a indifferent tee shot for Jimenez. Very upright putter, stands quite upright himself as well. This way gets his eye right over the ball. Gets a real sort of pendulum motion going. Ounce less strong, that would have been a fantastic 3. He'd like to finish off, and the etiquette decrees that he should mark. In fact, he's decided to mark. He can go on if he wants, provided he doesn't stand on Montgomerie's line.
Spence at the 11th. The par 3s at this golf course today, just 11 yards between the shortest and the longest, and there's 4 of them. Come on. They all run in different directions, Bruce, so depending on the wind, they all play very differently.
Yes, that's a good piece of design. News up ahead that Montgomerie's tapped in at the 8th, so he's gone to, or will stay at 17 under, ahead of Jimenez, who will follow him in a moment later. It's a real tap in. Fred Couples now at 12 under par. He's 6 under for the day, and we'll see him finish his round. He's way out ahead, having had a poorish day yesterday, but the defending champion finishing in some style. 3 other players on 12 under, and Carl Mason, very fine round of 66 today. Well, amazing the magnification you can get out of long cameras. That's one from behind the green at the 10th. The 10th itself is a par 5 of 549 yards, and Raymond Burns with the honour.
Unfortunate to get a bit of a run on it. The right side of the fairway is reasonably firm, certainly down the left. There's still an odd little bit of casual water after the heavy rains on Tuesday.
That's always a bad sign, but there's a bit of applause. And we've seen that when he's had a bad back in the past, or something twinge grips him, doesn't it, Ken?
Yeah, this time last year in Cannes he was really struggling with his back, but no such problems at the moment. I think it was just a bit of a miss-hit, and he's scuttled it down the fairway. Certainly not in too much trouble.
The 9th tee. Jimenez, who's led for the entire tournament after he posted the 63 on day 1 until the 7th green today, when his 4 and Montgomerie's 2 let Montgomerie through.
ball's went once here. See where the ball's went. One into your
A little bit in that right-hand rough, so he's going to have a few problems with a fly now. Willis, this for a 2. Seemed to come up on that one a fraction early, but found the bottom of the cup, perhaps just feeling the pressure a little bit.
Oh, I'm sure he is, because most of his golfing life is spent on the Omega Tour in Asia. Now, of course, Montgomerie would have been had the honour. This was recorded. His tee shot at 9. A little anxiously down the left-hand side. Good view of the green, though, you'll have from there.
Dropped 1 stroke here yesterday on the golf course, and it was on this hole. He paid a visit to the water and managed to get up and down for 2 to save a 5. Spence, Jamie Spence for a 2. Very little break. Right to the centre of the hole, so Jamie Spence going along very nicely. 8 under par for the tournament. Needs to make a few birdies on the closing holes.
Tony Johnson and Peter Baker, they're out in the 3rd last group. They're on the 10th green. Peter Baker, I was telling you at the beginning, has had a real up and down start. 3 birdies and 1 triple bogey. But things have gone quiet since there. He's still at level par. Tony Johnson is a couple over for the day at 37 to the turn, and still looking for his first birdie. Can't buy one today, and there's a few players like that. Rocker's another one.
Johnson took a bit of a rest during the winter months. Been on the tour for 17 years, and the longest spell he'd taken off golf was a couple of weeks. So he took 11 weeks off during this winter and has come back revitalised.
I must admit, Ken, is fascinating, the different sort of playing schedules and regimes. There's no correct answer as to how much you play and how much you rest and when you do it, and it's down to each individual, and that's what makes this game pretty fascinating.
Well, it nearly always boils down to the better you play, the more you can afford to rest, and the more you generally do, and the worse you are, the more the inclination is to keep trying to find that magic week.
Yes, and of course if you have a really good week and you're up there's a lot of stress and strain associated with winning tournaments, leading to finishing in the top 4 or 5. Nice rewards, mind you, but it takes one. Montgomerie, who's starting late, this is his first tournament, and starting with a bang. Second, there's hole 187 back of the pin at the back of the green.
Clambers over the water. His heart would have been in his mouth, I think, when that was in the air. But it's on dry land, Colin.
Now this is just about from whence Montgomerie hit his second into the water yesterday. Probably he was a couple of yards further to the right. But again, one of these awkward stances, feet below the ball in the rough, on a bit of an upslope as well. So you aim out the right and hope to bring it back. The natural contours will bring it back for you. See how far to the right of the pin he's aiming.
Pretty well played, expecting to catch a bit of a flyer, but always a dangerous shot, that one. A little bit quick on it, you can hit it a long way right, you would clatter about in the grandstand.
Yeah, it's a big difference there between being on the fairway and in the rough. The 10th, par 5.
Pin right on the front right-hand corner. So the front bunker's the best spot. It's not bad at all, as long as he gets a nice flat lie. He's birded this hole 3 out of 3 times so far.
Now here is Peter Baker, the short 11th. This is for 100,000 smackers in the local currency. Well, they're getting a little closer to it than they did yesterday with the pin. Really a very difficult position over on the left-hand side. Wind coming from that side.
Certainly moved him through the field though. Started the day in a tie for 19th and currently of course in that 4th position.
But the ground he's walking over now indicates to me that he's hit a crooked one off the final tee. Maybe tried to bite off a little too much. We shall see in a moment. Back to Woosnam's 3rd shot. This is a difficult one, Ken.
He wants this one to come down vertically. Just got snagged up in the Bermuda. Just hoping to get the ball to bounce forward. Virtually impossible to get that one close. Woosnam's missed a couple of greens on the wrong side at the 5th. And now at the 10th.
Yes, indeed. And I think partially one of the reasons that neither he nor Burns played that well is because Jimenez and Montgomerie got out of the traps so fast, 2 or 3 birdies apiece in the opening holes. This is Jimenez chipped to the 9th. What a very, very good shot it is. Been easy to take 3 from there. It's not the easiest of little putts he's left himself. A sharp cross slope putt from left to right. That was recorded. And Montgomerie has come up as well. And as well as practicing the long game, Montgomerie and his coach Bill Ferguson and the caddy Alistair McLean, they had a lot of putting competitions on the very good putting green here, and it was quite interesting. We've seen how well Montgomerie's putt, and they had 7 or 8 rounds they played for a few bob, and guess who won all the money? Bill Ferguson. He won 6 of the 7 contests they had.
Maybe he should be out here playing.
Well, from the sound of it, he'd be a good foursomes partner. As I say, Ken, this is a little bit longer than it looks, and he's got to be firm and positive about this shot and knock it in firm on the left edge. He's just looking across to the 18th green. It's shared, the two are sort of twinned by the narrow strip of green in the middle.
Very few of those, just that one at the 7th, which he dropped a stroke there, so he's out in a 34 or 1 under par.
Raymond Burns we saw catching the bunker with his 2nd at 10. He's come out much too strong. This green does slope from front down towards the back, so there's not much margin for error. Birdie putt, but I think he'll settle for 2 from there. Has he got the legs? Not quite. Be for a 5 when the moment comes, while he's carrying on. Now, a minute ago, this was Woosnam. You know, he's only used 1 putt on this green in 4 rounds. He's chipped in 3 times. Quite extraordinary.
Amazing. If a couple of bunker shots for eagles, and now he's chipped in, and that might just give him a bit of a momentum for this back 9 holes. See if he can put a bit of pressure on Mr. Montgomerie.
Doesn't look as though anything else will. Very fine outward 9 of 32. Can't ask for better than that. they head off to the 10th. 9 holes done, and another, well, that's 63 very impressive holes on the part of Montgomerie. Down to Fred. Look where he's hit his tee shot here too, Ken.
It's an enormous tee shot. Again, has yesterday the tee fairly well up. Got 160 yards to the front, and the pin's 13 on. So 173 yards, but cutting a very narrow portion of green. It's just 5 yards of green in front of it, and 4 behind it. Waiting, of course, for the green to clear. Alessio Garrido finishing his round. They don't come much better than that. Out in 32. 6 under par for the round. Another 5 on his card. As ever, munching up the par 5s, and can he do that with the 18th?
He's already taken a huge bite out of it, that's certainly with this tee shot. And as you say, with the pin in that very narrow neck, he's given himself a great chance of attacking this one as well. Maybe he can finish with an eagle.
Somehow got caught up behind the fountains, but very well followed by a high camera. But the breeze about always very difficult from a long range.
I have an idea. We're now looking from behind the green, and he's away to the left as we look at it, and it'll be very interesting to see what sort of putt he's got, because he's actually closer, I think, to the 9th pin position, but we'll see that in a minute. So Fred Couples restoring quite a little bit of his pride and honour with a very fine closing round. 2 putts from there for a 64 or a 65. But Montgomerie and Jimenez continue to play this out between themselves. 9 holes left to play. There's 3 shots between Jimenez and the man in 3rd place, Robert Willis, who's just birdied the 11th. We saw a nice 2 there. In Woosnam, well, that was some chip in he had at the 10th hole. Keeps him at 12 under par.
Robert Willis from New South Wales. He birdied his 12th hole. We've seen very few all week, and doesn't quite manage to do it.
Well, only 4 players left who can collect the 100,000 dirhams. Raymond Burns first to go. Second to go, of course, Woosnam with the birdie 4. He's had 1 go. So there are now only 2 left. And that's the pair in the last grouping. This was Woosnam's shot.
Doesn't golf look easy when he hits the ball?
It is the swing of a man who played from a very early age. You can only get that natural swing when you start young, and he's gone back to what, like, God and nature gave him. There's these twin sort of hourglass greens of 9 and 18. There's Fred Couples.
Not playing in Blay Hill this week. $1.2 million at stake there. And the leader there, Guy Boris and Pat Burke. Of course, he's won a couple of tournaments in Australia. They're 10 under par. I'm just looking down the list. Nick Faldo, he's on at 209, 7 under. 72, 68, 69. Side with Tom Watson. Bernie Els at 214. Bernard Langer 215, 1 under par with Robert Allenby. And Nicky Price on 216. He's just at level par.
News from across 2 continents. And Fred with his trademark lovely, slow, high-flying wedge. Beautiful golf shot from where he was. It made it look extremely easy. Yes, and picking up on that, of course, each week there's a rejigging of the Sony World Rankings, and well, there isn't a distinct possibility that Colin Montgomerie, currently in 4th slot, could go to 2nd slot if a number of other things happen, like Nick Price not finishing in the top 20 over there, and Ernie Els not finishing 1st or 2nd. Peter Baker in a bit of trouble.
Well, he was in a bit of trouble on the 3rd where he ended up taking 8, so he's had a couple of crooked tee shots, very penal. This desert scrub, if you get amongst it, there's a few prickles. It's definitely a place to be avoided.
Let's have a look at the hole where the leaders have now arrived. 549 yards, the 10th. The prevailing wind helping, which is why so many have been getting there in 2. Quite a wide driving area here. It's about 240, 250 here, but the further you hit it, the narrower it becomes, and some of the longer hitters can get snagged up by trying for too much distance. So we've seen well in reach for a drive and a very long iron. Probably better to come in with something like a 4-wood if you're trying to hit the putting surface, but it's a small target. It slopes away from the golfers, and with the pin particularly on this, very close to this front edge today, it's perhaps better to end up in the bunker short rather than try and reach the green. Montgomerie's done that before, not on this hole, but on the par 5 13th this week.
Trying to cut a high 3-wood up, but finds the bunker, which has gathered most people up. Going back to 1994 and Valderrama the 17th, where Miguel Angel Jimenez managed to play the hole 2, 3, 4, 4, 7 under par for the week. Managed an albatross 2 there, which was quite remarkable. He's doing pretty well on the par 5s so far this week. He's birdied this hole 3 out of 3 times.
Now he started that high and straight at it, but he too cannot clear the bunkers. I think this is a good this is a good par 5 green, Ken. It's not designed to have a long iron or a long shot hit into it, and if you're going to get your 4, you're probably going to have to chip and putt.
Particularly playing down the breeze and the flag right at the front.
Well, this will be for a round of 65 for Fred Couples. And that's what he gets. A wonderful round of golf, all 4s and 3s. 7 under par for the day. A round of 65 to go with a pair of 69s and a 70 in the first 3 rounds. And who's to say he won't finish in 3rd spot? Well, it's been a very brave defense of his title, but really he let the whole thing get away with him in a lackluster day yesterday. But always a welcome visitor and a great draw wherever he plays.
We're 2 at the 11th, up the little tier, a bit from right to left. The old right hand coming in a bit there, closing the club face. The ball always tends to go a bit too far.
So this back 9 has been very good to Woosnam. It's where he's made his score each day. 34, 35, 32 against a par of 37. This is Baker, might have learned a bit, sorry, Burns might have learned a bit from that, but not as enough. And confirmation, Fred Couples joins Robert Willis in 3rd spot. Peter Baker in a little bit of trouble at the 12th. Neither Burns nor Woosnam birdieing the 11th, and so of course it still continues to look ever more likely that this title is going to be sorted out between Colin Montgomerie or Miguel Angel Jimenez.
Gary Evans, nice to see him back after a long injury problem. Left wrist, he got it back, ready for action, and immediately damaged it again. 14th. 1 under par for his round, 8 under for the tournament.
Yes, the feature of his round, an eagle 3 at 10, but 4 drop shots as well. And that was the 4th of them. So, he's a level par for the day, but these players all know that they will drop back down this field with scores around level par. Such are the conditions.
Woosnam hold his putt at the 11th to save his par. During the winter months he did this TV documentary, I don't know whether you saw it, Bruce, where they analysed his swing, and he saw a little fault in it that wasn't working. He wasn't really completing his backswing, transferring his weight, and he's been working on that with Bill Ferguson during the winter months, and it really has all come good for him.
Yes, I did see it. They used very modern, latest technology in cameras to slow his swing down. It's the one they used to catch the spinning tricks of Shane Warne, who we've seen later on today. This is Jimenez, little pitch. So nearly cleared the bank, and he's played a beautiful shot. Certain 4, one has to feel from that. Most of these golfers prefer to be in sand rather than in long grass when chipping. But, well, he's keeping the pressure and asking the questions of Montgomerie. And once again, I look across these acres. Ken, I think it's a fine course, but I think that really for the test, you could actually have the rough perhaps a little bit more penal. It's really no punishment.
Very few patches of rough. The two of them a little bit snaggy around the greens where a bit more moisture's got to it, and basically not much rough about. Montgomerie there tapping down the sand, obviously a hard bit under his ball, and the club's skidding.
Yes, that was recorded, and now in real time we've seen with Jimenez stone dead, Lister stay ahead. Battle royal we've got here over the closing 9 holes, no doubt about that. Even were he to miss this, you'd still fancy, just from his sheer experience and position in the world of golf, you'd still have to put money on Montgomerie to win. But the fascination of golf, as opposed to games perhaps like tennis or snooker, is how often the expected doesn't happen.
Yes, you can never tell. As Roberto Di Vicenzo used to say, the ball is round.
Very deep words. Confucius would have had a view on that. He's holed out very well from Brown, though. Hasn't held many long uns, and that would put that in this category. He's holed that there. Oof, what a big putt. I think his putt at the 7th, and that one there, real body blows to the solar plexus of Jimenez. Takes him to 18 under, 2 ahead at the moment, but Jimenez bound to go to 17 under.
Such a delightful day for Rocker. Things really going against him. 6 over par for the round. He's having one of those days.
And he can have them. I remember at the he led at the French Open going into the last day and dropped 4 shots the opening 2 holes, and it ended well to break 18. But he bounces back remarkably well. He's got a nice jolly spirit about him, and a week later he can have forgotten all about it, which is what you have to do at this game. He's now played 13 holes.
Looking back down the fairway at the 13th. Sorry, at the 12th, the par 4. Some advice for Phil Morby. Haven't quite ascertained exactly where the wind is blowing. If you're going to attack this flag, it's just 10 up the little ridge that guards the front left portion of the green. And if you miss it on the left, the ball kicks a long way to the left.
Yes, and just to the right of the pin you can see their little sort of pimple guarding the front approaches to the green, and if you're trying to run one in with a long iron, that can cause a bit of havoc.
Just carrying it over the little pimple there, and that's in the perfect spot. A great iron shot for Ian Woosnam.
Well, different duties for the hostesses from Emirates Airlines, standing here in the sunshine rather than looking after 200, 300 or 400 people in a various jets of the airline. Montgomerie first to go. Wind from the left, his natural shape left to right as well, so everything contriving to push that away, but got it on the right level, pin high. That was a big putty holder last, Ken, don't you think?
Yeah, really keeping the pressure on his partner. Now Willis, he's going along steadily, still at 13 under. Only 2 players in front of him, and he just holds onto the left side of the green at the 13th, so he's got an eagle opportunity there. Let's have a quick look at this short par 3, the 11th, 169 yards, playing 178 today. The pin cut right in the back left-hand corner, 37 on, and just 3 yards from the left edge of the green. That's really the tour minimum, 3 paces, about 9 feet, so very tight pin position, and just 2 yards up a little tier.
Yes, Jimenez will have a brief flicker of hope that he might have got a shot back at the last hole, and that was snuffed out very abruptly by Montgomerie's putt. Beautiful tee shot there. He's not wilting. Well, Montgomerie stated at the start of the week if he could get to 18 under for the week, he thought that would probably be good enough. It may be, but it may not. Jimenez hunting him all the way. 4 shots further back. Fred Couples, a 65 today, already in the clubhouse and perhaps heading for the United States. Robert Willis has an opportunity to finish 3rd all on his own, has also Raymond Burns and Ian Woosnam. A very exciting tour. Mark Mouland has moved on to the leaderboard at 10 under par. Further on down, Thomas Bjorn of Denmark in his first season. This is his 4th tournament, done nothing much of note yet, and having a very good run. He's got to 11 under at one point, but slipped back after 13 holes to 10 under, but still a good check awaiting him if he can finish no worse than 10 under this week. And of course, at this sort of level, every shot you drop, many players leap past you. A tightly packed field as it's been all week, and as you'd expect in conditions that have been very constant throughout the 4 days. And of course, as you go further down, all these players, they've played their 18 holes. David Fairty disappointing, a couple of 72s to finish with after opening with a 70 and a 69. Barry Lane for a time looked as though he would move up today, but dropped some shots on the 2nd 9 or from the 9th onwards and finished only in 72. And this gentleman hasn't dropped a shot all week.
He seemed to drop something yesterday when we were watching him, but it certainly wasn't a stroke.
Well, we'll move swiftly on. Thank you for that, Mr. Brown. But part of the lovely wildlife around here. And Raymond Burns, a little bit of bother at the 12th. Not a birdie putt, so they say. He's got an awkward chip from the left-hand edge. Downhill all the way, pin over on that side, restricted backswing. In fact, you can see he's got a big bank to come up first. Now he'd steadied his ship after that rocky start, but he's, well, this is a very, very awkward stroke.
He could probably chip and run, but he's going the aerial route. I think that looks a bit like a Lucy Lockett, that one. It came out of the socket of the club.
Yes, I think he opened the face to such an extent he sliced it almost directly underneath it. One we'll draw a veil over. And you see a bit of inexperience here. He hasn't been a pro that long, and what if he really should have said, well, I'm bound to take 5 here unless I'm very lucky, but made certain that he didn't do more than that. Now he's got a acute danger of dropping 2 shots.
Obviously feels keen to save a stroke there. Didn't play a very good percentage shot. Chip and run would have been a bit better. Montgomerie at the 11th for a 2. I've got to say, so far this week, Bruce, it's one of the finest displays of holding out I've ever seen from Montgomerie. He hasn't missed a single putt inside 6 feet.
No, he hasn't. Robbie Willis, I could say this, an eagle putt at 13, the par 5. Pretty well stoned in. Ooh, look at that run on down the slope. Good try. He's left himself coming back up. Yes, there's not much hope there for Jimenez that he's going to miss that one, but a good chance here for the Spaniard to catch him. Forgot to hit it, sir. Yes, I would agree with you. I think not only in holding out 100%, but I think I've never seen a more sort of stress-free tournament from someone so far. I mean, he seems to have hit every fairway, every green, hold a few putts, tidied up nicely when he's had to. It really has been an absolutely model of performance of consistency, and of course very good golf.
Woosnam needs something to happen if he's going to make any bid at winning this tournament, and this will be a good time. This for a birdie at the 12th. As a result, he knows that, giving it a bit of a run at the hole. If he could birdie that and perhaps get an eagle at the 13th, he still have half a chance.
We put enormous wraps on him. And it's been said before, not only does he hold them, he puts it straight in the middle of the cup. And hardly surprising, no drop shots today, 4 birdies, and he steams on his way.
Little right to left. Another one just sneaky in the side door as it did at the 11th. So Robbie Willis moves to 14 under par, having a quick gander at the leaderboard just to see exactly how he's standing. We're in 3rd position.
Yes, it's been a very good recovery because he stumbled a bit around the end of the front 9. This is the hole that Montgomerie and Jimenez are coming to now. Good par 4, 467 yards. Blind tee shot over the little brow here, and then the hole turns half left. Those bunkers up on the right-hand side don't really come into play. They're getting on for 300 yards off the tee, and then this is the second shot we saw Woosnam hit in so well. There's that little knob on the front of the green. The pin today is 23 on and 5 from the right-hand side. 5 from the left-hand side, beg his pardon. And not surprisingly, played back into the wind is the second hardest hole on the course this week. Montgomerie's performance, Ken, reminds me a little bit of when Bernhard Langer last won the Masters and he was playing against Chip Beck, and the Americans castigated Chip Beck for not going for the green at the 15th, but I felt that Langer's play sort of destroyed all hope of victory for the Charter, and a little bit you feel the same with him, and of course he's a lot closer and there's a lot more holes to go.
Finds the cup, so 5 for Burns. Managed to save it after that very interesting 3rd shot.
Yes, there's very little hope for Jimenez that something drastic is going to go wrong for Montgomerie. But he's sticking very well to his task. He's not giving in any shape or form. Just one blemish where Montgomerie went past him on the short 7th hole. He took 4, Montgomerie had a 2. Woosnam now for his par, up ahead on the green. And he's got it. Well done. He's still 12 under, but 1 over today. So the status quo is maintained, but Robbie Willis has moved within 3 of Jimenez. And, well, another par 5 at the 18th still to come. Great round from Fred Couples. And now Raymond Burns has left Ian Woosnam in 5th place, all on his own.
Following the ball of Woosnam's at the 13th, just managing to carry the waste bunker. Didn't quite find the fairway though. From where he is, he has no idea where it's finished at all. It's completely blind, especially if you're only 5 foot tall high.
What a cruel man you are. Yes, he hasn't worried about height today because, or yesterday, because Burns is much the same build. Par 5, wind assisted, right angle dogleg right to left. And both of those now well with about 225, 230 yards to go for Raymond Burns to the front edge. And the pin sent a little further back today, so worth going for the putting surface. And it was near the front on day 2, certainly. Colin Montgomerie went for the sand in front of the green, preferring that than a long putt from the back.
Stroke index 12 for the members.
That's about right, isn't it? Par 5. It's not one of the harder pars on this course. Right, rank 17. Second easiest. Well, back to the final group. Jimenez and Montgomerie, and I think probably Jimenez because he's gone wide right, probably the better line in, particularly with the pin over the left-hand side. Better view of what he's got to do. Probably he will be him to play first.
Comparing notes, getting their yardages correct. A lot of players now and their caddies do them, so there are no mistakes. Quite a long way back. With that pin cut on the left-hand side and the bank guarding it, the ideal shot is a low draw if you can't carry it over that and stop it. There is the lake as we wander back round to the man now 1 stroke behind at Colin Montgomerie. Keeping the pressure on, there's no doubt about that. 7th hole where Montgomerie got the 2 and Jimenez got the 4, but these people aren't worried, basking in the sun.
Gentlemen, they're dreaming he's Colin Montgomerie, I think.
There's a lot of people dreaming they could hit the ball like this fellow.
Very important role, the role of the caddy and counsellor, advisor, encourager, calmer down. All sorts of roles to be fulfilled, and knowing which one to adopt at which moment.
Has he got the right club?
That's the only doubtful thing these days. Who knows where it's going to fly. Again, an awkward shot for Colin because he's coming from the left-hand side. The wind is against and from the left. His shape of shot pushing it ever further away on the breeze. But 2 putts from there. Well, there's a reminder of which part of the world we're in. The writing on the right-hand side of the Dubai board, who are the major sponsors this week, the Dubai Aluminium Company, and the unmistakable figure of Russell Clayton.
Just carrying the water at the 18th. Russell put together a great round of golf. 3 under par, had a nasty double bogey at the 16th, which set him back, but he's birdied the 17th. He's got every chance of a birdie or even an eagle at the 18th. Baker at the 13th. But for 1 hole, this man would have been challenging up there. Dropped 3 strokes at the 3rd, picks 1 up there, so he's back to level par for the day, 12 under.
I think it's been a very good round to come back from that so well. A lot of people here. It's Jolly day, good membership at this club, very well run place. It's nice to run into the club secretary, Will Richardson, who's the son of an great old friend of mine, the England opening bat, Peter Richardson. Dad was a very competent player, my foursomes partner on a number of occasions. Will's off 2, I notice here. So don't play him for money, Ken, round here, and giving him a couple of shots.
Stabby stroke of Tony Johnson. Reminds me a bit of Gary Player or Corey Pavin. 1 over par today.
And you could well say that his putting stroke might have been influenced by Player, whom he idolised in his youth. Russell Clayton, what might be his last shot of the week, but you saw it bobble, and well, even so, it's going to be a very good 68 to finish with. I remember seeing this man nearly win the Australian Masters. He led going into the final round. Greg Norman, of all people, caught him and passed him with a rush of birdies, but he finished second. That's when he was an amateur.
Round in a 68 today, 10 under par for the tournament. A great week for Russell Clayton. Just a terrible double bogey at the 16th, but I don't think Russell's yet fulfilled his promise. He's a really outstanding and talented player.
I agree with you there. Montgomerie to putt first. It's a longer version of the one Woosnam rushed past the hole. But he's left himself another one, Ken. He's left himself another one, and when you hold your breath, you can't feel you can go on knocking those in. It's the only real weakness he's had is judging distance on these greens. And I think it's more because it's big, wide, difficult to read slopes.
.220 yards to go for Woosnam. Coming out the rough. Is it going to carry the bunker? No sign of it on the green. Coming down the wind, out of the rough. Always going to be difficult to hold the putting surface. He had to pitch the ball very near the bunker if he was going to get the ball anywhere near the flag.
Yes, he's hit a number of long irons and short irons as well, a bit right of where he intended. That started quite right. We'll find out in a minute. Back to the previous green. And Jimenez. Pace so important on these big sweeping greens. An ounce less hard that, and it would have taken the borrow earlier and fallen in. But a good putt. And again, the difference between the amateur and the professional. As an amateur, you've knocked in a number of 5 or 6 footers. You start to question whether when's the run going to come to an end. the what maybes and might be's. Now Raymond Burns, he thinks a little high-flying forward.
A little bit frightened of the water down the right-hand side. It's miles to the left. That could even be out of bounds.
Robbie Willis in a bit of bother at the 14th. Dogleg par 4, can only chip out sideways, having hit a big hook off the tee. This is the longest of the lot so far, Ken.
Dead weight right into the centre of the hole. I don't think you can believe that you can not miss any of them.
It really has, as you said, it's been an astonishing holing out performance. Willis hasn't actually got back to the fairway at 14. He's taking his medicine, makes certain it doesn't cost him more than a 5. Then over on the right-hand side, and he may get a 4 out of it yet.
Little Tiger, little Brian Huggett.
Well, Jimenez does his work, but it really must be sickening to see time and after time the ball rolling in the middle of the hole from his opponent. And just that one moment when they swapped the leadership around was enough to give Montgomerie the stroke lead that he still retains. Robert Willis could still be at 14 under when he finishes the 14th, but he's got to hold a good putt to do so. And Ian Woosnam and Raymond Burns, we're going to have to find out where they've hit their seconds to the par 5 13th.
Burns obviously in trouble, but let's just see how much. There's a cart path over there, and I think that's perhaps what he's taking relief from. Can't quite see from here. Well, Sergeant Woosnam's got his eye on him.
Yes, they come under the category of immovable obstruction to the artificially surfaced path, and all the neatly trimmed hedges bounding the cart path are part of such path, so it'll be a free drop. Local rules for the week, but it doesn't make life any easier. And we saw Big Hook from his second at the 12th, and it seems that when the crunch is on, he perhaps just speeds up a little bit, Ken, and the wayward shots come in.
Yes, he's got a quick rhythm at the best of times, and sometimes gets a little quicker under the pressure. It's all part of the learning curve, though. Just 22 years of age. I know in Northern Ireland they've got very high hopes of him going to the very top.
Yes, he's got to acquire what Peter Townsend, so Peter Thompson, 5-time British Open champion, so wonderfully described as the gift of calmness. He's got to find that from somewhere. Well, he's got it back on the green, which was the #1 job to do.
Coming out of that sandy stuff, they're playing directly towards the water. It's fraught with all sorts of dangers. How's Woosnam's ball lying? Nestle down a bit. Another one you go underneath.
I think from there, with the pin so far over that side of the green, that was a good shot, but lucky in a way that he's not in the water. He was very close to it. That was the hole that Meneth got into trouble. And we hear this is a bogey putt for Robbie Willis, this for a 5, and perhaps not wholly surprisingly, he misses it. Must have had a pick and a drop from the bush down the left-hand side, and not one of the most difficult driving holes. It's quite wide, a bit of water up the right-hand side, but you've got to do a very long one and a very crooked one to reach that, so expensive.
A lovely Lovely hole, this 13th, the downhill par 5, 550 yards. Usually plays down the prevailing wind. You have to hit it across the corner of the dogleg. You can't see the left half of the fairway at all. The tighter you hit it to the left, the shorter the hole plays. It's the easiest hole on the back 9 holes so far this week. The second shot plays very much downhill, and the pin today's cut just up the little tier, 3 paces up the tier, 23 yards on and 5 from the right hand side. A number of birdies and eagles, and what can Colin do?
Hello, has he hit a crooked one? He has indeed, not too bad, but he might just be out of range in 2 from there. No real disasters, and if that's as bad a shot as he hits this week, but he's a perfectionist.
Close up on Robbie Willis. Oh dear, dear, dear.
He's had a fair amount of tournament experience, but he hasn't played in the superior quality, you might say, of the European Tour much before, and maybe the nerves jangling a little bit.
Opportunity here for Jimenez. Bit unfortunate, he just gets snagged up in the rough.
Have a head on the green, Woosnam for a 4. No, it's been that sort of day, must be said. Nothing gone yesterday. They were all flying in all over the place. 5 at the par 5. Again, like a shot gone, 1 over for the day. But certainly the leading pair put an awful lot of pressure on those seeking to catch them with their birdies early in this final round.
Well, he's been in some interesting places on this hole, Burns, but this is for his par 5.
Yes, seeing where he put his second, he would be quite happy with that. But again, they've played very similar sorts of rounds, Woosnam and Burns. Yesterday it was all glory, 65 apiece, and today it might be nearer 9 or 10 shots more.
Baker's got his problems at the 14th. Recovers very nicely, getting a lot of spin on the ball considering he's coming out of that the tangly Bermuda grass.
Good shot there for Tony Johnson, his playing partner, quite close in 2. Back to and in 270 yards to clear the bunker at the front of the 13th green. And the good thing about this, coming on an upslope, a lot to ask, a big hit.
Way left, a big high floaty cutty one. It was a rather strange shot to play from there, green in range, but would have pitched it down the fairway. Maybe it would have been an easier way to make a birdie.
I think that's right, and all sorts of peculiar things happening now. Costantino Rocca, who's really had a nightmare day, has just made a nice birdie 2 at the 15th, and he's now stuck up a palm tree.
His caddy going up there, Michael Doran.
Shades of Bernhard Langer at Fulford and Nick Faldo at Pebble Beach a few years ago, and going up there. Why, sending the caddy up.
There's a little glimmer of hope for Jimenez here. If he can find the putting surface, he'll certainly put some pressure on Montgomerie.
Hello. No, did that hit the stone surrounding the water again?
I think it did, and then took a big high bounce. I don't know whether it finished back in the water. Well, he visited the water yesterday and Took the old doubly bogey.
Yes, he did. That was an extraordinary stroke. Only had an iron club in his hand, and I was thinking Colin Montgomerie's shot there was first and foremost making certain with the breeze from left to right not to go in the water. So all sorts of things happening. This is Baker for a 3 at the 14th, and he passes. Well, he passed go, and steaming by. It's all become a little unsettled, and this is sometimes happens in a tournament. The wind beginning to get up, the moment when the final placements sort themselves out.
A little bit of confusion there at the 14th. Well, he ended up taking a double bogey. Willis. What a reply. Terrific shot there, working the ball in with the breeze, a little bit of right to left. He's given himself a chance of a birdie too. The key in this situation, you have to be able to identify your ball, not just say, I know it's got stuck up the tree. These palm trees I've had experience with over the years, you can gather your ball up. It's like going into one of Alan Knott's gloves.
Peter Baker takes 5. Yes, very important point. If you identify it, of course, then you only lose the one shot. If you can't find it, then you have to go back from where you are, and rather like hitting it out of bounds, a lost ball, and it costs 2. And a shot gone there from Peter Baker. Well, further information from the saga of Rocker. It wasn't his ball up the tree. Big question now in the main group is, where is Montgomerie's ball?
Where is Jimenez there? All of a sudden, from playing this perfect golf, they're all over the place. Well, that's where it's ricocheted to. Jose Zamora gave him a ruling on the 18th. He's having another go today, just checking whether the ball is still round.
And of course, it doesn't make any difference in golf whether you're on the fairway or not, or in the rough. There's no such thing as just through the green, and if there's some question, you can pick it up and check it. Well, I suppose that's the better of the 2 options that he would have had. He's there in 2. He'd have been playing 4 had it gone in the water. So a good break there, but that was a bad shot, and you've got to think, Ken, that sort of the memories of yesterday were in his mind.
Yes, definitely a slightly negative shot, and I think he knew he had an opportunity. If he could get this on the green, Montgomerie struggling also down the left-hand side, just came slightly out of the shot, and with the wind coming across as well, was very fortunate to finish there.
It was, and as you say, he did have an opportunity. He could have applied the pressure. He could have got it anyway, if not onto the green, into a position from which it might have been relatively easy to get up and down into and make his birdie that way. And I also think with Montgomerie it might have been more sensible to lay up 80 or 90 yards short and look for the pitch in, take all risk of going in the water out of the equation.
He's got a line of sight possibility, perhaps, if he needed it, but I think the ball's sitting reasonably well, nothing in his way.
Yes, couldn't drop it anywhere better than that.
He's got the downside. He's got this new sand wedge with a little bit of extra bounce on it, which doesn't really come in handy when you're playing off the hard pan. He's got to make sure he's got to really hit down on this hard and clip the ball off. With nothing in his way, he's got every chance of putting this into birdie range.
Like the way your professional mind thinks, at least I get it back on the green. He didn't follow through much on that. Didn't need to. Good shot. Again, as you were saying, Ken, getting the more backswing than perhaps he really wanted off that hard, gritty surface. So that's him on the green for 3. Where's Montgomerie? Just brief news from ahead. Robbie Willis tapped in his little one for a birdie 2 to right his ship somewhat. A couple of 2s have done him some good at 11 and 15 today. Well, when we pan back, we'll see how much that palm tree interferes. Probably just get it beside it. Here we come. It's a very good shot. Very good shot.
So both these two players getting a fair degree of good fortune. Raymond Burns in trouble. We've seen some marvellous golf this week, and just in his last closing 5 or 10 minutes, everyone seems to be hitting it into some nasty spots, and looks like he's going to have to try and swing a little bit more upright. Coming out of this sandy sort of line, having a backswing impeded, it's going to be very, very difficult.
Yes, there's a pull back for what he's got to do, and that is a wildly. He's had 3 of the biggest hooks we've seen on the last 3 holes, 12, 13 and 14, and you'd have thought something would get him to slow down a touch.
Yes, as Lee Trevino says, you can play with a fade, but you can't talk to a hook.
Well, he swung at it, done as well as he could, and we'll find out where that's got to in a minute. He pulled that away. There's a bit more water over there now. Is that his ball? If that's his ball, that's amazing. I think there might have been a bit of applause. But 2 good putts to get down in 2 for Jimenez here. He'll be a little bit rattled with the second shot. Well, if it was Montgomerie, you'd say he was odds on to knock that one in, but the one time he's left himself some way from the hole, at the 7th, he missed the next one. And the pressure that Montgomerie's exerted on him today has been formidable.
From the perfect spot, slightly on the downslope, Ian Woosnam second to the 14th, setting up for a draw. Just coming off that slightly hanging line, that ball not stopping quite as quickly as he would like, but it was an absolutely beautiful shot.
As that was recorded, of course, and that was the ball we saw, so Burns is still having his adventures. Montgomerie for, well, a 2-shot lead.
Extremely difficult putt to read this one, a little bit left to right, doesn't turn quite as much as you think.
It was coming in and then came back the other way. Well, keeps him honest, keeps the contest very much alive. I think that might well have been the nail in the coffin. And he popped that in. Jimenez still with work to do. Well, our spies out on the course tell us that Burns goes from one problem to another. He's found a hedge now, one of those little privet jobs, or maybe he's going to get another free drop if that's the case. Not many natural hedges out here in the desert. A shiny green, this one, and an awkward putt. Sort of slightly like an upturned saucer a bit. It's not an inviting putt. Well, he did hit a very rotten second shot, and in the end it's cost him a 6, and he's dropped back to 2 behind, and he'll think, well, on balance today the things he'll remember were 2 shortish putts missed. Montgomerie hasn't missed any of them. 4 holes left to play, and remorselessly on goes the Montgomerie machine. Jimenez wilting seemingly a little bit under the pressure, but still, we say, 5 holes left to play. Fred Couples in the clubhouse after a great round of 65. Robert Willis trying to come back. He's just birdied the short 15th. Woosnam at 12 under, putt for a 3 at the 14th. And the rest, well, they're trying to decide the minor prizes. Third shot of Raymond Burns. Oh dear, oh dear. Well, he got a drop out of his hedge. Was, as I thought, one of those little ones that goes with the paths here.
It's the middle of 16th fairway.
But it really has been untidy. Robert Willis, second shot to the par 4 16th. And those birdies at the short holes have come just in time for him. Now, if he can finish with two pars and a birdie at the last, he can pick up a very handsome check. And of course he's keen this day. He's got an invitation here because he won the Gadgil Western Desert Classic at the Creek Club back 6 months ago. Got him an invitation. He'd love to play in Europe, and if he can finish in the top 10 here, he can go to Portugal next week and play there. So his prime objective this week is to finish in the top 10, and he's doing very well. And that of course has put on a lot of pressure of its own, but he's well, I say 3 pars would see him very nicely in.
Currently in a third position, so as you say, everything so far going perfectly for him. So with Burns, he's really been very up and down today. Hit a lot of loose shots, a lot of hooks from the tee.
That was recorded. Now Woosnam for a 3. Had to watch the toings and froings of his partner. Good putt, but he was coming off a little ridge at the back, which made picking the line so difficult. By and large, not been hitting the ball close enough to the hole really to give himself any opportunities of birdies today.
The dogleg left, the 14th. There's a tree just off the left-hand side of the tee. That was the only tree out on the golf course when it was being developed. Very much a positional tee shot. We've seen people in the scrub on the left. No one's been on the water on the right-hand side. The tee very much points to the right. It's very easy to block the ball out. That's why we've seen a number of players drawing down the left-hand side, slightly overcompensating. The pin today 22 on and 4 from the left-hand side, ranked number 10. A middle ranking playing just over its par of 4. We've seen 3 double bogeys. And worse, of course, Robbie Willis and Raymond Burns. He's struggling on the hole, but probably might just manage to save his bogey.
No thoughts of bogeys in Montgomerie's mind. The leader by 2. Well, there's an old saying in match play golf, 2 up and 5 to play never wins. But I think in medal play and in professional game, no such evil superstitions.
For a 5 for Burns. Well, once again, he's been all over this hole. And just to scramble his way out with an over par.
Yes, he's got to, the important thing is he's got to take a few deep breaths, try and slow down, try and calm himself, because as you say, he's been not just offline, he's been wildly crooked, 30-40 yards offline at times, all of them hooking. It's all an indication of getting a bit quick from the top of the backswing and getting the right hand a bit in a bit early and shutting the club face as it comes into impact on the ball. And you know, he's actually come out of it reasonably well the last 3 holes. There's 2 holes, 12 and 14. He might have dropped 2 shots apiece and kept it to 1. Got his par at the 13th, and still in line for a very good prize.
On the 15th tee in Woosnam. The hole playing 174 yards today. There's his Previous 3 days, all pars. Wind across. Who's getting out a new glove. When they get a bit sweated up, they get a little slippery. 2 or 3 in the bag. There's some bananas and some extra golf balls, but they haven't given him the strength, the bananas, today.
Again, there's the old head, the crucial moment of the tournament, and he's thinking, well, it's just getting a little, as you say, stick a bit of maybe adrenaline running and nervous, sweat coming, or maybe the heat, but stop and give yourself a new glove. But the great thing today, he's still retaining his enthusiasm to the end, Ken. I remember last year, a few times things weren't going right for him. You know, the head would go down, but he's still interested. He's still playing out this tournament, all 72 holes of it.
He's very keen to be in the top 2 of the Volvo rankings come the Volvo Masters, because if he does, he'll get an invitation to the US Open.
Drive 4 by Jimenez. But coming in really from the wrong side with the pin over on the left. Like the way he keeps his head down. Oh, what a fantastic stroke. Certain 3. It's not over yet.
I wasn't sure when he struck it whether he thought it was a good one or a bad one. He stepped away, but he knew. I remember playing with Gary Player in the old days. He'd hit one like that and he'd say, as soon as he hit it, get in the hole. He just knew it was a perfect shot. Let's have another look at it. Working the ball in from right to left. He knew it was a peach. I thought at this stage it might have a chance of going. He just grabs up a little short, but he's keeping the pressure on.
That was particularly after the Horlicks he made of the previous hole. That really was a wonderfully brave shot, and will do much for his morale. Now Raymond Burns, see if he's still a bit too quick. He's got a naturally quick rhythm. And, well, chopped that up in the air, ballooned that a little bit, but that's all right. He's on the putting surface, and I'd say 10 under, not bad. Now this in fact was Montgomerie's shot recorded. He played before Jimenez. Well, online. And now here he is looking at this, thinking perhaps he might have been able to cruise in, but he's going to be kept honest here, Ken.
Looks like he could be kept very honest. And of course, the 17th and 18th, both very interesting whole birdie opportunities at both of them, particularly the 18th where that pin's tucked away. So this tournament's not going to be over until they've holed their final putts. Montgomerie was the top money earner in the world last year from Europe. $2.1 million. That's not bad for a year's work.
Surely isn't on the course. Just the odd few pence in endorsements and things off it, because we don't have to worry about the education of his children, which Venetia Grace was the latest addition back at the end of January. Joined elder sister Olivier. Olivia. Well, Montgomerie will know that Jimenez is going to get a 3, and what he must obviously not do is do anything stupid and 3-putt, trying to match it. Just about the perfect try. If he wasn't going to succeed, he got it running at the hole. Enough pace to get there.
Willis is second to the 17th. Going along very nicely. You've got to remember also, Bruce, here the third prize is £40,000 and he may yet win his player's card.
Yes, by playing on the tour. Certainly he'll get to Portugal next week and have another opportunity. Probably got to get about 45, 46,000 to win a card this year. This is Jimenez for a 3. This to get back within a shot of Montgomerie. No mistake. Wonderful 3. Very courageous. Glorious second shot after making a nonsense at the 13th, which that 13th has cost him 3 shots in the last 2 days.
For a 2 for Burns, uphill and right to left. Just swinging a little bit more than he anticipated. Woosnam was keeping a beady eye on that one as it was going past. A par from Montgomerie. So just 1 stroke in it. And 4 holes left to play.
And of course we've got to remember, whoever you are at this stage of any tournament, the nerves begin to flutter in the tum. Woosnam for a 2. He's got it. Oh. Well, he must have hit the hole 3 or 4 times today from long range. And there it is. It is very much now between Montgomerie and Jimenez. But only a shot in it. 4 holes left to play. A par 3, 2 par 4s, and the par 5 18th. Robert Willis with a shortish putt to go into 3rd place all on his own. Fred Couples can do no more about it. A wonderful 65 from him today.
The hole ideally shaped for Woosnam. Needs a little right to left up. And that's in position A1 plus. Two perfect tee shots at the 16th.
Burns, you could see looking back towards 15, where Montgomerie and Jimenez will shortly mounting the tee there. It's really been a very, very good week for golf. Some marvellous scores. The 63 on the opening day from Jimenez, the 64 from Jay Townsend, who's nearly the end of his tournament. He's still 10 under for the tournament. Level par for the day. And then of course good scores every day. The 65 of Fred Couples, perhaps the showpiece of today's round. Look back from behind the 15th green. Ken, you got the precise distances. What is this hole playing today?
174 yards is the exact yardage. 159 and the pin's on 15, 5 from that left hand side. Wind coming in a little bit off the right. It's just a nice gentle draw shot. You don't really want to be missing the green on the left because you have very little green to work with, and it's quite a steep faced waste area down there. Beautifully controlled 2 iron shots. Those 2 holes that you couldn't do much better with. He's keeping the pressure on Montgomerie.
Yes, he is. Here is a look at this hole. 180 yards on the card, but playing less than that today. And the feature, this bank and the waste area down below, it's not proper bunker, that's just sort of raked desert, if you like, but and a very difficult shot if you go down there. Oh, he can't see it from that height, but that's a super shot from Jimenez. It'll be a new glove time for Montgomerie. This is where the hours of practice come into play. Oh, and he's on the bank. He's tugged that a little left, or it didn't come back, or the wind blew it over. It depends. It'll be easier if that's stuck on the bank.
He hasn't hit many loose shots as Montgomerie. Now an eagle putt for Townsend at the 18th. The man who opened up the tournament with a 64, 8 under par, since in 2 rounds of 71, and he's got this for his 3rd round of 71 in a row. Just had a couple of 3 putts during the closing holes yesterday. He lost the momentum of his tournament there.
Good picture of Burns' second shot at 16, the pin cut and a little swale over on the right hand side. And he's done pretty well. He's gone and found that part of the green. Putt for a 3. I think a very exciting talent, and as he learns. Now Robbie Willis looks to go into 3rd spot on his own. What a great week he's having. What a super putt. 2 at 15, 3 at 17, and now 14 under par.
Over the top of the ball, a little bit slightly shut club face, a larger than usual divot for Woosnam. He quite often takes a chunky one with a short iron. So it's been a very disappointing day for him. We're expecting a big charge, and currently 1 over par for the round. Can't win every week though.
Indeed you can't. Costantino Rocco, well, he got away with a solitary drop shot where his ball was up the tree. This is 2nd to 18, and I don't like the shape of that. So it's going to be a day to forget. 7 over par, 6 over par for the day's round. So he came up to there, and this for a 5. And so he finishes with a 6, and that putt to break 80. Don't ask him for his autograph as he leaves the green. Jay Townsend did tap in. He made, as Ken Brown was telling you, his 3rd consecutive 71. And now this is an interesting. It's come down the bank, Montgomerie at 15. He's still in the grass.
To be very delicate and precise, and got snagged up on the fringe. Montgomerie, one of a number of players who chips with his glove off these days. Greg Norman gives you a little bit more touch and feel, but that was the area I suggested you didn't want to miss the green on, with the pin tight to the left.
And it may still be his go. We shall see in a minute. And really the first crisis for the big Scot. Remember Jimenez with a, well, probably a 15-foot putt for a 2. No, it is Jimenez first. Now what a blow he could strike for his cause were he to pop this little fella in. Looking straight back into the sun, always difficult to see the line. This one I would think, Ken, a little bit up the slope, left to right.
Absolutely spot on, Bruce. He's got to be hit with a little bit of authority. If there is any grain, it's into him. He can easy, if he doesn't hit it firmly, miss it on the right.
Well, he did everything but, and that really whipped across the face of the hole. He'll move away, methinks. Yeah, he knew he had a moment to make a real great stride for this tournament.
Willis having a shot there, laying up. Discretion the better part of valor at this stage of proceedings. He's got such a wonderful tournament together, and even if you do get it over the water with your second, it's still a devilish little pitch, so a very commercial shot. And he's laid up on the left-hand side of the fairway, which gives you the best angle to get at that flag.
And of course the great thing is he's already a shot ahead of Couples, and he can't really be caught. A 5 will be good enough, and he can't catch the second place man. This is Woosnam. Quicker than it was. That was very sensible play by Willis. Now then, just to keep his lead for Montgomerie. Oh! Oof. First drop shot of the day, only his 4th of the entire tournament.
And his first in the 23 holes. But that's about the shortest putt he's missed all week.
Matchall square. Always provided Jimenez doesn't do it something silly with this. Matchall square it is. 3 holes left to play. Anybody's tournament. And who's got the courage to go out and reach for it?
Slightly off approach, but this to save his par. And he's just had one of those days, as Ian Woosnam. Played reasonably well, but just can't get the ball in the hole.
No, hasn't quite hit the second shots close enough to give himself any real chance. So there you have it. Montgomerie and Jimenez at the top, 3 shots clear of Robert Willis, who's just about to complete his round, and probably the best tournament of his career, even including that win at the Dubai Creek back last October. Further on down, a good day for Mark Mouland. Finish in 10th spot. Tony Johnson beginning to make a little bit of a late run, but it's too little too late. David Carter, a good tournament, as did Howard Clark. Howard Clark around to 70 today. On down there. Jamie Spence, scattered shots on the outward 9 to be 38 out. A couple of birdies coming home have improved his card, but not as good a tournament. He was 8 under after 2 rounds, a pair of 68s. Eduardo Ramiro early on today got to 9 under, but then gave the shots back, and that was the end of his charge for a really big prize. David Guilford, a bit of a disappointment. He was there or thereabouts midway through the second round, but nothing materialized. But with the talent so evenly spread in this field, you've got to hold the putts, and if you don't, then you're just one of the pack. Enormous strength. All these players, all 40, 50, 60 of them, well under par for their week's work.
It's been some remarkably low scoring all week from everybody. It's all testament, obviously, to the players' ability and to the quality of the golf course. Beautifully prepared. The greens absolutely immaculate. The fairways are, you could eat your dinner off.
Applause from that end, but that's a little bit too far left and not very long. Catching up on the rough on the bank. Yes, I think I've got impossible to cover any criticism of the course. I'd just like to see the rough grown a little bit longer for a big professional tournament. The fairways are wide enough.
most important shots of Willis's life. And it's extremely intelligent play. He's realised that he's very unlikely to win the tournament. He's playing for a nice cosy 5 or perhaps a little 4 to finish with, and that should give him 3rd position.
Should indeed. It doesn't look like anyone's going to catch him for that. Couples can't. He's already in. 392 yards this 16th hole. Dogleg from right to left. Not really the right shape of hole for Montgomerie, who likes to fade the ball round corners, left to right corners. But having found the fairway, then it's a shot, not the longest. It's been played everything from a wedge to about a 6 or a 5 iron today. The pin not far from where it was when we flew over. It's over on that right-hand corner, a little bit further back, perhaps 17 yards on. So favouring Montgomerie. Jimenez, of course, had the honour.
Bueno. Big high draw to the perfect spot. Montgomerie's did a couple of loose tee shots, uncharacteristic tee shots, a little low squirty one at the 13th, and that one didn't seem to have much carry there at the 16th. Maybe he's getting a little bit apprehensive.
Well, as I said, it doesn't matter who you are, as you get towards the end of, and winning all important to Montgomerie. The nerves are there, and it's he who copes with them best. Well, it's a very nice position to be in for Robbie Willis, because I don't think it matters whether he holds this or not. It'd be nice to do it in front of the crowd, but 2 putts will do very nicely indeed. That's the way to do it. Finishes with a 5. And the great thing about his round, he had a bad patch around the turn, but he got a 2 at the 11th, which got him going again. Then he took a double bogey 6 at the 14th. Came straight back with another 2. Terrific, that.
Of course, it gets him into next week's tournament in Portugal. And if things stand as they are, and he does finish 3rd on his own, he wins just over £40,000. And a good week in Portugal will give him his card for the European Tour. So we may be looking at a new member of the Volvo Tour.
Yes, he'll have to bring his family over from Australia. Leaves them there at the moment. But I think domestic change. Jamie Spence, as I said, a disappointing day for him. And that just rounds it off. When that happens to you on the last green, you know that's thousands, not hundreds of pounds, and a round of 74.
I like the sound of it. Seemed to catch the ball. Didn't catch any grass behind it. Still not gaining the control that he would like, so another chance here for Jimenez. That's the beauty of catching the fairway from the tee. You get a bit of extra control. Although Montgomerie's been a very prolific money maker, he hasn't won that large number of tournaments, just 8 in Europe.
That's right. So still, and that fact alone will bring its own anxieties. This man has won twice in Europe. Last time a couple of years ago in the Dutch Open. So he knows how to do it. Whether he did it with a Montgomerie breathing down his neck or not, I don't recall. And that is a poor effort. Not that far from the pin, but you can see the different colours of the grass. Tell you he's in a little swale there. He's got quite a steep bank to come up over. The pin's just the other side. Not the right side to miss. And certainly of the two, although he'll be first to play, Montgomerie with the easier shot.
Second of Woosnam, avoided all those divots. Very unfortunate, just taking one hard bounce, one hop forward as the day's going on. There's only one green been watered at all over the last 4 days. That was the 7th last night. They're just softening that one up a fraction, but the rest getting firmer and firmer.
runs 3 over for today's round. So if he could finish 3-4, the 73 wouldn't be so bad. And I think he appears to have come through his crisis of wild hooks. Peter Baker. Does he go for it or not? It's been a strange sort of mixed bag day. He's 1 over par, 11 under for the tournament.
Such a devilish pin position, almost invites you not to go for it. Play it the Robbie Willis way. Cracking shot. Still got a little bit of work to do to get his birdie. Very much downhill from there, but an excellent golf shot all the same.
Back to the 16th green, and I said it was Montgomerie to play first, and I certainly thought it was. It makes this a longer shot than one can see on the cameras, very much foreshortened. There's a very good view of what's left to do, and going to play this rather like a lofted putt.
It's the easier of the two chips. It's going up the green, a little bit from right to left, whereas Montgomerie's is far more downhill.
He pops it in. Yes, the last few feet of that was downhill as it swung across. 4 feet coming back.
Just about to say, can he make one? Well, he can't. Hasn't made a birdie thus far today. 3 bogeys. Oh, sorry, of course he made the birdie at the 10th, as Bruce has pointed out to me. Has half a chance of going for the 18th in 2. There's no doubt he'll have a go for it.
Oh yes, he could get there with a couple of his 1 irons. Now the putter or the chipper? The putter, it looks like. He can get the pace right, and as he's done very well, and he looks as though he has. Beautiful putt. Have an air of a playoff about it, this, Ken. If that is the case, then 17th and 18th run parallel to one another and in opposite directions, so they'll start at 17 and play 17-18, but that's some way in the future.
Well, yesterday these two couldn't miss the hole, and today they can't buy a putt between them, Burns and Woosnam. With the sun setting, always makes lining up putts a little bit more difficult. You don't quite get the same perspective. A touch of rake on this one, but certainly not outside the hole. Gave the hole away. Was a little bit from left to right.
Oh yes, that's a big miss. It's a let off. Played such a beautiful little chip too, and of course a miss like that doesn't half improve the well-being of your opponent. Once more he leads by 1, but not really through his own fine deeds, more an error on the part of his opponent. So they come back a little way over the last couple of holes back to the field. Robbie Willis now in the clubhouse with his fine round of 68 today at 14 under. 68, 68, 70, 68. Terrific playing from the young and Australian. Good day for Fred Couples as well. Thomas Bjorn, who won the Challenge Tour last year with 4 victories there, he's had his best week amongst the big boys.
Burns also won the Challenge Tour. That was the year before in '94. And that sprinkler there, as you see, is 186 to the front of the green.
Now Tony Johnson from the bunker at the back of the 18th green, as we've seen, no green to work with, the water beyond. You don't want to lift your head and skin this one.
This fellow top sand saves in '92 and '93, so you know it's a difficult one, even if he can't lay it anywhere near the hole.
Yes, no way. That's trying to flip it out onto the staircase and stop it on the 3rd tread down. The 18th, the big hospitality units, the wonderfully local cultured clubhouse, the Bedouin tents. Away in the distance, the big deep sea port of Jebel Ali, the largest man-made port in the world, visible, they tell me, from satellites up in the sky. They fly over. At the 3rd shot of Peter Baker, it's always second come through to the back of the green. Very well done. He wants that putt for an even par 72, but the ground has been very far from him. Now Woosnam made for him this tee shot. Little draw from right to left. And he may have pushed that a bit. Short of Burns, but with his length well within reach in 2. A little bit of gap opened up between the last group who are on the 17th and the Woosnam pairing.
Haven't put the tee forward today, so it's playing its full length. Yesterday it was just about in range with a driver, so most of the players will be laying up, favouring this left side. Any sort of tee shot between 210 and 230 yards gives you a look at the green, the dog leg to the right. The green that slopes generally from back to front, pinned down that front right hand corner.
One up, 2 to play, Montgomerie. And position A, all the divots, and over there tell you that the players are hitting it up. They're getting a good look up the length of the green. Yes, no one attempting to go for the green, and right in the forefront there, Bill Ferguson, Montgomerie's faithful coach also to Ian Woosnam, a wise man, believer in natural things. The difficult part of this hole isn't the driving end, it's finding this awkward little green which is switchbacked.
For the par for Tony Johnson, round in a level par 72, par for today's round, finishing approximately 10th position, 10 under par for the tournament, out in 37 and back in 35. So if he does finish 10th, he's played 4 tournaments and in the top 10 in all 4, so that's a marvellous way to start the season. Well, it's been a very disappointing day for Peter Baker. He started the day with a birdie, unfortunately a triple bogey there at the third, and that really took the wind out of his sails. And he did really well on the front nine, level par, but nothing really happening for him. But he doesn't seem too bothered.
I think if you get round in par when you've taken 8 at a hole, I think you've done pretty well, because it's a real shock to the system. As we've been saying for a hole or two now, this is very much a match play scenario, and usually in match play you want to get your blow in first, and that's Montgomerie's done. 96 yards. That's to the front of the green, another 9 on. So just over the 100 yards. Nice wedge. Up for the 3. Good shot. Not much joy for Jimenez in that shot.
No, he knows he's got to make a birdie at this stage if he's going to beat Colin. And there are birdie opportunities at 17 and 18. This is definitely not going to be all over until both players have at least found at the putting surface at the 18th. A dangerous hole. He's been very aggressive off the tee in the perfect spot to attack the flag. This new wedge has worked a few wonders. Can it do it again?
It's not as close as Montgomerie's. Probably the harder putt. He's coming up the slope. We shall see in a moment. Slight vested interest in Montgomerie's well-being today and winning the tournament. I'm sharing a car, some supper and an aeroplane with him tonight. So I'd rather he won for the humour at dinner.
He might even treat you to a little bit of the old shampoo.
Might indeed. Pigs might fly. He's a good companion. Woosnam now. He'll be going, won't he? Oh, I don't know. That looks like the layup shot.
He's seen where the flag is. It was definitely in range. But we saw what happened to Tony Johnson. If you're just fractionally out, it brings all sorts of troubles into play. But Raymond Burns, the spice of youth.
And I get the feeling the wind might be getting up a little bit more than it does. It has a habit of doing that. Oh, what a shot from Raymond Burns at the 18th hole. 214 to the front, the pin on some 13 or 14 yards, so over 225, 230 yards into the wind. Whew, what a shot.
Reminded me very much of Nick Faldo's efforts last year at Doral when he found the 18th green after hitting it in the water from 230 yards. It came down like a bag of sugar.
Tasted as sweet, surely. Now, Ken, you've been an expert. You've played in this tournament a number of times, and you think this is a tricky green, don't you?
Yes, there's a few tricky ones. This actual area where the pin is cut today isn't quite so bad. The front left is very devious. The ball doesn't do what you think, but here it's fairly predictable. This one will break a little bit from left to right, but not maybe quite as much as you think.
Of course, the putt not made easier as he's got to putt through the shadows of the swinging palm.
Maybe almost straight, perhaps a bit from right to left, but there isn't much break overall. Some lovely putts. 15 so close in that one. Well, Montgomerie's got a chance to seal it here almost. Let's have a look at this shot from Burns. Aiming left, holding nothing back, cutting it high into the breeze. 3 wood. They say fortune favours the brave, and they don't come any braver than that one. It would be really nice if you could pop that one in and get round in 73.
Yes, that'll make up for a lot of the misdemeanors. You can hear the wind in the trees and the palms. Oof. Another couple of yards and that might have hopped up very close. Now then. Well, this, whilst we were away, Jimenez tapped his in, so he's in for a 4. So this would be for a 2-shot lead going down the last. All the difference in the world to a 1-shot one. Bit quick on that. A little bit quick. All to play for. And the 18th really, again, rather like the 16th, not designed for Colin Montgomerie. It's a dogleg right to left. It's a Woosnam type shot, not the little fade that is Montgomerie's stock in trade. And Jimenez doesn't mind the right to left either, does he?
No, generally he can work the ball that way. Chip for Woosnam, just for a 4. I think that says it all, Bruce.
No matter whether it's a putt or a chip or anything, nothing is dropped for him today. And that's a round of 74. Very disappointing finish after 2 69s and a 65. The 74, and I think maybe the way the leaders bolted out of the traps right at the beginning of the day put those coming up behind under a bit of pressure, tried a bit hard, dropped a shot at the 5th, and nothing's gone right since then.
Burns for a 3, downhill and right to left. And a brilliant effort, well done. Robbie Burns round in 73, a great way to finish the tournament. A very up and down round, as you can say. Well, what a lovely way to close the week. So he finishes at 12 under par and beats his playing partner by a stroke. He'll enjoy that.
He will, and he'll enjoy the cash that goes with it. That's taken him into, I think, 5th spot on his own. Peter Baker, of course, with his 4 was 12 under. Montgomerie with the honour at the final hole. No applause there. But that's fine, that's a long shot. But look how on the contours it breaks right. And I think Raymond Burns was a yard or 2 further up than that. He's going to require all his power to get home in 2.
Making sure he's got absolutely everything right, tapping down behind the ball. A couple of deep breaths. He needs a nice high floating draw. Getting the hole back. Is it going a little right? Just wandering into the rough. The camber of the fairway slopes from left to right. Just there's a bit of ground under repair there. So he may yet get a drop.
But he's a valuable 5 or 6, 10 yards ahead of Montgomerie, and every yard counts. But Montgomerie holds that vital 1-shot lead with a hole to run. Robert Willis almost assured now of 3rd place all on his own. And that's a very fine effort on his part. Fred Couples came late, but too late with his 65 today, the defending champion. Well, Colin Montgomerie, he's done very little wrong, just one error each day to date. And coming at really rather strange moments, but it has been a very impressive ball striking week, a very impressive holing out week, particularly. He's missed the odd, or left the odd long putt some way away from the hole, but that's really the only area that needs any attention. The Volvo ranking, as we came to the Dubai Desert Classic this week, Ian Woosnam more than double the amount of money his nearest pursuer. Of course, that courtesy of winning two big ones at the beginning of the year, the Johnny Walker Classic in Singapore, then the Heineken at the Vines in Western Australia. Wayne Westner, a good campaign in his native South Africa. Andrew Coulthard was in a playoff with Ian Woosnam for the Johnny Walker in Singapore and came second there. That's where he won the bulk of his money. Mark McNulty, also a good year in South Africa. The 18th hole, 547 yards, par 5. Not playing that distance today, down to about 520. They've moved the tee forward to create the option for the players. You drive to here, and then as it turns left, the players, these golfers, have to hit it over to about here. There's that sprinkler head, 187 to the front from there. And then, well, it's a question today, is the wind too strong to go for it? Are you close enough to go for it? And of course the wonderful amphitheatre created by the hospitality units and the grandstand at the back of the green. A narrow, shallow green, wide, and the pin cut over on the right-hand side today. Not many paces over the water as it cuts in and gets further away on the right-hand side. There's a view back. Montgomerie's 215 to clear the water, and Jimenez 11 yards further on. Now then, the breeze up. Do we go for it? I think we probably do, and we aim for the left-hand edge of the green where the carry is that much shorter. But there's nothing but the perfect shot, and he's gone away, I think, to have a think about it. You almost sort of give up the high ground if you're Montgomerie and don't go for it. The mental supremacy which he's got, courtesy obviously of his one-stroke lead, but the penalties for taking a 3-wood and hitting it in the water are severe indeed. A lovely moot point in the closing stages of the Dubai Desert Classic. Ian Woosnam was in group ahead with Raymond Burns. They've finished, so there's nothing to stop them. He's going for it and may well have the driver. But the hands indeed get clammy. Yes, that's the big head on it. But the pin where it is, this shot is made for him. Start it probably at the third from the left to the right of those flags. Let it go. The rhythm of the swing never changes. Is it long enough? They're beginning to applaud, and quite rightly so. That is a simply magnificent shot from Colin Montgomerie. Under the circumstances, all the pressure on him to do the job. He never speeded his swing up and hit yet another glorious golf shot to the final hole. That may be the one that wins him the tournament. A full-blown, full-blooded shot with a driver. And before it arrived, he knew that it was there. What a great, great golf shot. So, the slamming of the stable door. Well, he's in the rough. He's 2 shots ahead of Robbie Willis, so he could afford to have a nonsense here. He's got to go for it, therefore. That's Robbie Willis in 3rd place. So if he takes 6, he'll still have 2nd on his own. And his only chance now is to, well, he's got to get down in 2 from here. Perhaps to force a playoff. has that got enough? He seemed to hit that a little heavy. He has. It's a great shot as well. But coming out of the rough, didn't have the backspin, didn't have the stop, didn't have the height that Montgomerie's had, and now that awkward little shot, something similar to what Peter Baker had coming in. Well, it's been a very, very fine Dubai Desert Classic. It really has. And the last day very quickly developed into a head-to-head, a match play between Montgomerie and Jimenez. And for a long time, Jimenez retained the upper hand, started just the better. But one thinks back to the 7th hole as the first turning point of a match that has seesawed. Crowds rush in. Short 7th, Montgomerie hold for a 2. Jimenez 3-putted. And that was the 2-hole swing that gave Montgomerie the lead for the first time outright on his own in the tournament. And incidentally, it was the first time in the entire tournament that Jimenez hadn't led. That was the way it stayed through to the 13th, where Jimenez took 6. Applause for Colin Montgomerie as he comes onto the 18th green. What a great week's golf he's played. Applause also for Miguel Angel Jimenez. 63 the first day. He's had the pressure of leading throughout the tournament. The odds are now very heavily against him winning this tournament. It's been a very, very fine job of front running. £650,000 on offer this week, an increase of 200,000 over last year, and 108,000 to the winner. But he really has played super golf all 4 days, and nothing, I think, was any better than this shot at the last. A driver, a bearish lie. He gets the height, the all-important height with that club. Look at that. Well, he may have any number of putts for it, because Jimenez has the most awkward of chips. You can see his feet a good 18 inches below the level of the ball. A lot of fringe grass to go over. We saw the bunker shot of Tony Johnson, unable to find any grip coming down there. And the green's only 4 or 5 paces wide at that point. But he's got to think about popping this in. As I said before, he can take 6 and still win, so he can go for a high-risk shot. But it's so difficult to get the height and the little bit of stop when you're inevitably, because of your feet being below the ball, you've got such a shallow angle of attack into the ball. Not a bad attempt, not a bad attempt at all. I think one of this man's finest efforts was, he came 13th in the US PGA Championship, the last of the year's majors last year, and that gave him added belief in his ability to play at the highest level. There you have it. Lovely feeling when you can putt the way this man can. 2 for it. The old saying, when you've got 2 for it, take them. He'll mark the courtesies, and with a little, possibly unless Jimenez pops this in, he'll have 2 for it from even from there. Well done. A very fine tournament for Miguel Angel Jimenez. It's probably going to be one too many, but what a good week's golf he's played. A round of 70 today, 63, 68, 70 and 70. And the shortest putt to win a tournament. Colin Montgomerie, he said at the beginning of the week that 18 under was what he was after, and that's what he's achieved. 67 the first day, 68 the second, 67 the third day, and rounding the whole thing off with a 68 today. And he hadn't played competitive golf for 3 months. That's the way to come back. He looks good, he's playing beautifully. The Masters is 3 or 4 weeks away and he goes off to sign his card, but that has been a most impressive victory and an impressive performance.
What a magnificent finish to an excellent tournament, ladies and gentlemen, going right to the last.
So there we have it. Colin Montgomerie wins the Dubai Desert Classic by a solitary shot from Miguel Angel Jimenez. Robert Willis from Australia, who won down the road back in October, loves Dubai and has come here primarily to win a place on the European Tour and continues his adventures in Portugal next week. Fred Couples came late with a 65 today, but didn't play too well on day 3. There's the final evidence of what's been happening. It's been a two-man, two-horse race for much of today.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're requested to stay for the prize presentation. The cards are now being checked, and the presentation will take place.
And the knowledge that he wasn't going to win this week for Miguel Angel Jimenez. He's come so close. Joy for Montgomerie. Congratulations as ever. The comradeship, the etiquette, the gentlemanly spirit of the game maintained even at this very high level. Tremendous play, tremendous tournament, very, very exciting day's golf. It's been head-to-head, these two, over the final few holes. That's what's been at stake. 108,330 to Colin Montgomerie, 72,000, not a bad consolation prize for Miguel Angel Jimenez, and 40,000 for Robbie Willis from Australia. That's one of his biggest prizes he's ever had, but he knows how to play under pressure. And on down to £650,000 in all, as I was saying, an increase of 200,000 over last year. Indeed, a very worthy and fine tournament on the PGA European Tour. Well, the closing sees there'll be a presentation shortly. And of course, all cards have to be signed. All the last rights. It's been an exciting day. Nice day to sit in the sun and watch those great shots coming across the water to the last hole. Good expatriate community. When I was here before, being told that probably no more than 15 or 20% of the population now of Dubai was indigenous Emirate personnel. And the crowds wanting to see, as I say, the last right, see the big, wonderful trophy handed over. big silver samovar jar, I believe it to be. But it really has, and of course helped by a lovely course and great condition, consistent playing conditions, which has been, so it's been the same for everyone, very fair. And each year as this tournament goes by, it gains in stature in the eyes, most importantly, of the players. Setting sun, and there is this Dubai Desert Classic trophy, and what a handsome thing that is. So
Colin, what a marvellous effort. No practice this winter. How do you find such good early form?
I don't know, lucky I suppose. The break I haven't stopped for 8 years, and I took 3 months off and lost a couple of stone, about 30 pounds, and it's obviously done me some good, and I'll stick with it now, I think.
Now, you've second here last year, first this. It must be a course you like. Why does it suit your game?
I think the second shots are important here. The driving, there's a bit of space off the tee, so that doesn't suit me as much as some, but the second shots, you've got to be so accurate with the second shots into the greens. They're quite firm, the greens, and you've got to strike the ball well off the fairways, and I tend to do that. And I've putted well the last 2 years. I've holed out very well.
Talk us through that shot to the 18th, because that was something special.
Yeah, it was a risk. I knew he could get up. He was a bit further, so I had to make a decision, and we had 222 to carry the water. And the only club in my bag to do that was my driver. I just aimed a bit left and managed to strike it properly, and it was fortunate that it came in soft and left to right, and gave me an opportunity to making 4, which is all I was looking for.
Well, congratulations, Colin. Let's get on with the presentation.
Thank you.
Samovar jug, I think it's a samovar jug, will be presented by Mohammed Alabar.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Very well.
Thank
I'm
you.
glad you're
Thank you. I'll take it off. It's very heavy.
Yeah, why not? You want to try that? We do this every year. Why not? You should do it as well.
There you go.
And maybe the hardest thing Montgomerie's had to do all day is hold that up, and he has to hold it up all by himself.
Very good.
And in fact, wisely, he plays safe and lets it. Mohammed Alabar put it back down for him. So that really has been a most impressive return to the competitive arena for Colin Montgomerie. And now the photographs being taken. So let's have a look through and see where everybody finished this week. Colin Montgomerie, an outstanding winner and an outstanding performance. Every department of his game seemingly totally in sync, and a new slimline Montgomerie. Jimenez, all credit to him, but one he will think both to the 13th, where he dropped 2 shots yesterday, another one today, and also I think perhaps most poignantly at the 16th, where a chip and a little putt missed really let Montgomerie back in after he'd lost 2 shots to him. Peter Baker, extraordinary round. Fred Couples, good defence of his title in the end. Raymond Burns had a good week, finished with an eagle 3. Carl Mason, too, a good round of golf. He had a round of 66 today. Further on down, Woosnam, well, just wasn't his day. Things didn't go right from the start. Mark Mouland also a 66 today. Russell Clayton, he finished in 68 for one of his best finishes in recent times. Jamie Spence, he got off to a bad start, came home well, 38 for the front 9, but it was a level par round for him today, on a day when you really had to shoot in the 60s to advance significantly. Eduardo Romero, 9 under, he got 2 after 3 holes today, but then tripped himself up. Peter Fowler has had a long spell in the wilderness, so good to see him back from playing in all 4 rounds. Paul Broadhurst for a moment appeared on the top page of the leaderboard, but fell back with a little untidy play yesterday. David Guilford promised much, particularly when he held his second to the 6th on day 1. Stuart Cage, another young Englishman, like Burns, a member of that Walker Cup squad of 1993. Barry Lane, level par today, 72. and a great tribute to the quality of golf on the European Tour. With all so many players scoring at and around 70. These are well down the leaderboards. Costantino Rocca, a horrid day, a 79 for him today. Andrew Coulthard, who had such a good run in the Johnny Walker at the beginning of the season, hasn't really found much of that form since then. And sadly, Seve Ballesteros, 74-77 at the weekend. He was so delighted to play all 4 rounds and then really didn't take advantage of it to build on his confidence. Roger Vessels, all he'll really take is the memory of a hole-in-one at the 7th, which won him 100,000 dirhams, $25,000. Well, those final closing moments, congratulations from the loser, the prize, the fame, the photographers, the interviews with the press will go to the winner. Alistair McLean, the 3 handicap caddy of Colin Montgomerie, himself a fine golfer. What a return to the competitive arena for the young Scot. His ambitions now, of course, are major championships, but a winning return like this does wonderful for his confidence. He goes to America next week. He'll then play for 3 days. There's the trophy he wins. It's one he was runner-up into Fred Couples last year. Now he's gone one better, and I know right at the beginning of the week he had eyes on winning this tournament. He predicted he needed to have 18 under par, and that's exactly what he achieved. 67, 68, 67, 68, and you can't ask for better golf than that. Only 4 drop shots in the entire week. And, well, the rest of the world better watch out. Well, I hope you've enjoyed our 4 days of coverage in this, the Dubai Desert Classic. It's been great fun to be with you. It's been wonderful to be here on a beautiful week's weather. And hope you'll be back with us again in the future. But in the meantime, from Ken Brown and myself, I wish you a very happy and good night.